we are going to do something a little bit different and quite crazy, I'm going to tell you. When it comes to Azure Dreams speedrunning, what we do here is actually try to climb a tower. The tower is 40 floor high. This is the only dungeon that there is in the game. It is a little bit different in fact that there is only one dungeon. It is also not necessarily a very action game. This is turn-based, so every time you move once, every enemy can move once. It's turn-based. But the fact that the game is so real fast, if you want to play fast, the game can be super fast as well. It makes for a really action-packed turn-based game. I see that my voice would be stuttering a bit. Is that better, or is it still like quite problematic?
That is on our end. We'll fix that.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. All right.
Let me fix that. I know exactly what the probable issue is.
All right. So as I was saying, we're gonna actually try to climb this tower. The game is not made to be done in one shot, and that is definitely something that our runners are gonna have to keep in mind. The game is really, really hard. The way you play casually is probably gonna go up to floor, I'd say 6 or 7, and then die violently to a trap or a few monsters, and then you would go back to town, try to use the money you got, and climb again and get a little bit higher each and every time. Now, these runners are going to try to clear that in just one go, which is going to be definitely something else. But since this is so hard, and they might actually die even though they know all the tricks, all the stuff in the book, we're going to do one clear as high as they can get, in maximum an hour, and if they die, then that's their score. Their opponents need to beat that floor by 1 floor, and then they're going to have the win. Best out of 3, we're going to have a clear winner at the end of the time. But I move forward explaining the game. I didn't even introduce myself. I am 9, and with me today I should have the great Palmer.
Yeah, I'm here, guys. What's going on, Professor Palmer? Excited to do some Azure Dreams commentary with everybody here. It is going to be a little bit unique of an experience, so even after what Sinite has explained there, the community actually has a way to make it even a little bit more special. Sinite, did you touch on it at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So the game would be played normally is actually pretty well made in this game. It is based off every time the RNG is called in the RNG value events, but also there is another RNG value that is based on frame count. So every time forward, the game will also advance that second RNG, and when the game needs to generate a new floor, it will call both the values and create a new floor. So it was virtually impossible to make the game like learn a set of floors. Since then, we actually have had the chance to build a seeded tower randomizer, or actually we called it the de-randomizer. So now they will both face the same tower. They will have the chance to see the same floors but make different.
Yeah. You guys, as viewers, have a really unique opportunity to be able to see. Typically, it would be, both runners would start the game. They would run into their tower. They would race to see who gets the highest, and the resources and things that would situations that would happen to them would be different every single between the two screens. But now, thanks to the hard work in the community and what have you, now it actually is, you're going to see both of them with the same opportunities, resources, and situations, and it's going to come down to player style, quick thinking, and really just where they decide to go on the map. If one decides to go north at the fork and one decides to go south, those are the variations that you're going to see come back and impact their run. So it truly does bring it down to the level of player skill and stuff like that, and I think it's going to be really exciting to watch.
Yeah, the most important thing here is definitely the item. You've touched that, Palmer, and I think that's what we're going to try to look to forward to today. Some of the items are really, really good. We will want to try to see a Scarlet Wand or a Stream Wand. before we actually had the randomized tower, that was a problem because if one of the player got that Scarlet one and the other one didn't, the difference in quality of play, we're gonna say, was so different that it could have made or break the game. Now, oh, am I okay? Sounds way better. I'm so happy about that now.
Yeah, I apologize for that. We had some audio line issues, so I swapped them over. So I apologize if anything got cut out or misheard. It's totally something what we couldn't really, unfortunately, avoid until we went live to check which line was dead. So
oh, that's 100% fine. Thank you for the hard work. And if there's something that was not clear, feel absolutely free to ask questions. I will go over them again. But most importantly, like we said, seeded tower. Now they will face the same problems, and see how they solve it is definitely what you need to remember from that. I'm going to go and count them down if they can go onto the starting screen as soon as possible. And we will try to explain what else we might have missed. So yeah, the items are going to be important. Now they're going to have the same items. I'm so sorry. If they leave a floor before exploring it all, they might have a discrepancy in items they have, but then that's actually on them. Like if one of them actually found a Scarlet one, the other one didn't. The Scarlet one was there for the first player. So that's going to be very interesting to see how much they're willing to risk in order to get some good items versus how much they want to just conserve and run as fast as they can to put pressure on their opponent. And I think that's going to be today's story. Anyway, I feel. All right, they're getting in position. I'm going to go and count them down.
okay, I'm ready. All right, so when the countdown starts, runners will be deafened, so only the commentators will be heard through our end, so it'll be a completely blind race.
All right. All right, and our runners are going to start. Sorry about that little awkward part, but this is definitely going to be the race right now. Okay, so what they're going to try to do first is the first floor. Well, the first floor at all is just it's not randomized at all. So they are going to get 5 items. These 5 items are always the same. They know they will get that. It's going to be a copper sword, a wooden shield, a copper sword, wooden shield, medicinal herb, a palumpa egg, and most importantly, a fireball. Now, out of those 5 items, the fireball is the most important one. So yeah, that's going to be really important to get that item to be used. It's 5 charges. It's going to shoot fire. It's going to be very, very powerful. I can't wait to see how they're going to use it. And oh, that's interesting. Is everything okay on your end?
What's up? Yeah.
Okay, nice, cool. I think there was some kind of a mishap here, but I think that's going to be actually interesting. The seed generated actually had randomized monster. They were not told that was going to be that. And I can't wait to see how they're going to tackle this. They don't start with the usual cuny. They have a clown, which is a very good monster, don't get me wrong. But that's definitely going to be a little bit different. Let's call it that.
Yeah, this is actually going to be. Even I wasn't prepared for this. I saw them pull a clown as soon as they walked in, and that was pretty neat. So clowns, for anybody who's not super familiar with the game, they have a couple of unique abilities, and while they are super good, and their functionality will eventually become extremely potent and useful, due to mana costs being low level and stuff like that, it is going to require a different element of strategy right away. Typically, you would have CUNY, you would be using a fire-based attack. And although they're not like at a disadvantage or anything right now, I wouldn't say it's definitely different. So it's just going to have to require a little bit of thinking right away.
Yeah, exactly. The Clown Mixed Magic is a range ability, which is really good. There is one big weakness, and that's what you're going to see them play around, is that monsters have elements, and those elements work pretty much as in Pokemon or Fire Emblem. There is a triangle. Thunder Wave, the magic they're using right now, is extremely strong against Water Monster. It's very okay against Wind Monster, but it's extremely weak against those Fire Monsters. So you see them using it on a Troll, which is not really hard as an enemy, and yet they still need like 2 to 3 shots to kill them. As the Fire Monsters are going to become stronger, it's definitely going to be very weak. So I'd say this spell is going to be absolutely the greatest thing ever, as long as they're not facing Fire Monster, and then they're going to need another strategy to get past these guys. Palmer touched the MP cost, so there is an MP mechanic in this game. It's not exactly MP as you would understand it in another context. Those MP are pretty much like a hunger meter. If you don't have any more MP as a monster, you become permanently paralyzed until some MP is recovered. You spend MP by just moving around, you spend MP by attacking, and casting spells, obviously. So everything a pet do will eventually make it go to 0 MP and then just become absolutely unusable. So
correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh no, sorry, go on.
Oh no, sorry, man. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the CUNY's is a 0.5 per enhanced sword magic, and the clown is 1.
It's 0.75, so
okay.
It's not even at 1. And the magic is so good, it's definitely worth it. So yeah, definitely the Thunder Wave is really good. We see Shauny equip a wand here, which would increase the mixed magic power, but it doesn't work if you use the wrench version of it. So that's gonna be okay-ish. But definitely with the range magic, you want a strong sword. You want to support your monster as much as you can. Once you're in melee, you want to hit as hard as you can. Blizzard Sword would be good because Blizzard Sword would deal extra damage on Fire Monster. And since these are going to be the problematic monsters out of all of them, Blizzard Sword would be a good complement. But who knows if there's even a Blizzard Sword in this tower run. They're going to have to deal with what they can. If not...
Oh, it looks like... Did Horza just pick up a Blizzard Sword?
Oh, Jesus Christ! Let's go! This run is going to be hype.
Well, this is all of a sudden... you ask and you receive. Now, let's just hope that Shauny... again, even though they have the exact same floor that they're dealing with here, they're in a situation where Shauny looks like he's exploring and he's grinding a little bit more to get his level where it needs to be. But if he misses that Blizzard Sword, huge advantage going the other way.
Yep. The problem we're gonna get here is that Shauny gets the Blizzard Sword, but that wooden wand is absolutely cursed, which has a lot of bad stuff about it. The first bad thing is the curse prevents you from equipping something else, so he's stuck with the one for now, unless he can decurse it. But it also permanently covers you with a malice to accuracy, so even if they can decurse the weapon, they're going to be stuck hitting a little bit less. Now, Mixed Magic has a very good, very high accuracy, so even with the reduced accuracy, it should still be like more than 95% chance to hit. But, you still never want to be cursed, right? You don't want to miss when it's really, really important.
Yeah, and one thing, it's not that, Shauny made a huge misplay or anything right there. He had an opportunity to equip a weapon that could potentially, serve him a lot better. And the curse is something that oftentimes just shows up. The only way to, know ahead of time whether an item is going to be cursed is to find another item that corresponds to that exact thing, where it will identify them for you and let you know. I believe there's also a way to remove the curse.
Yes.
So we're going to have to hope that he stumbles upon one of those just to give him the opportunity to spec into better weapons, especially considering the weapon that was cursed is like you can sometimes be like, oh, I got a cursed Scarlet Wand. Worst case scenario, it's still, mostly a Scarlet Wand. But when you got a cursed wooden wand, all of a sudden, you're in a little bit more disadvantageous position than the other.
Yeah, that's something that you wouldn't want.
Dude, I was.
And it started! We are streaming now, guys!
Oh my god. So, anyways, we're already going to notice that Horza is opted to move to floor 5, which is good. Like, the speed at which you move is obviously something you need to take into consideration when you're climbing these towers, because, it's a race. At the same time, you'll notice that Shauny is taking the opportunity to not only gain more EXP, but to also kind of flush out the floors that he's on a little bit better. And right away, you're not going to notice the shift of balance based on these two different playstyles. They're only a floor apart. Horza's just now getting that level. But when it comes to like every single step could be the next step you die towards the end of the tower, those little things really do start to show their value a little bit more at the tail end of things like that.
Absolutely. We see a big difference in damage depending on elements. I was touching upon that earlier on, but we have our first numbers in. So Shauny used it on a flame, which is a fire monster, obviously. He did 10 damage, and then he used it on a water monster just a second after, and it did 26. So you can see the big difference in damage. Luckily, the next few floors, so starting on 6 through 9, are a very hard set of floor, and they are all going to be water monsters. So that Clown will absolutely plow through everything. It's going to be very nice. But then it's a set of a few fire floors, like 2 of them in a row, 10 and 11. That's going to be a little bit rougher, obviously, because then Clown will not necessarily be a good partner for you. There's a few ways they can actually mitigate that, but that's where it's going to be interesting. See how they get out of these bad situations.
Yeah, typically, when we're doing standard tower runs or whatever, and you do have CUNY, the floors that Sand Knight just mentioned are actually the floors where you're kind of stressed out. So this is actually like flipped. Usually, 6 through 10 are the ones that you're like, we gotta see if we can make it through here because CUNY doesn't do you as much justice. But now that you have the Clown here, the floors that were the most difficult are now going to become the most easy, and these guys are going to have to think ahead on what they want to do. But what's neat is they have some floors where eggs, collars, things like that will start coming into play, and they can kind of strategize and plan for the future and prep themselves in a way that that they might be able to have some kind of strategy where the Clown is no longer necessary, and then you might see one player choose to continue with that. But we're a ways from that now. One thing, if you're not super familiar with the game, I figured we would touch on a little bit is elevation. You're going to notice that these players rather, are positioning their characters oftentimes where they're standing a little bit taller on a platform that's elevated above the enemy they're fighting. I don't know if Sandai mentioned it, but it is a really simple thing that you're going to see them do quite often because it does give you an advantage to attack and disadvantage to taking damage.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very powerful. It should be akin to if you had elemental advantage. So if you have elemental disadvantage but you are on high elevation, it should cancel each other's out, which is very good. But obviously if you have already elemental advantage and you're on a higher elevation, then you just multiply all your bonuses. You also take less damage, obviously. Same. Oh geez, Ulim fruits, interesting. But yeah, higher elevation is definitely one of the strategies you want to go with, as long as you can just move behind back to a better position to start a fight on your term. You always want to do that as much as you can, yes.
So did Horza just stumble into a room with double Olims?
Ulim's fruit are really nice. Items in this games are super great. All of the items does something very potent, but obviously are only one-time use, or in cases of orbs, it's a few time uses and then it's empty. Ulim fruit is a get out of jail free card. So you throw that at an enemy and that enemy doesn't exist anymore. How great is that? It's absolutely bonkers. You always want to have at least one Ulim in case you just stumble into a bad situation and you can just say, nope, you're out. You don't get XP for the kill. It's not really a kill. It's just like it deletes the enemy. you don't get XP, but I mean, surviving is more important than getting some.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Oleams especially, like there's a handful of items in this game that their impact is basically like this bails you out. Oleam is one of those. I know Acid Rain, some of those types of things have an effect where it's like I have one of these and I'm saving it for the worst possible situation I find myself in. There's a few items that are worth that much, and Oleams are definitely one of those. Might even be considered the most useful survival resource item. But now what's going to matter a lot is just how the two different racers choose to apply those. You know, naturally, if you want to go quick and you're like, hey, I have 3 Oleams, maybe I can opt to explore less of this floor I'm on because I know that I have that safety net. Well, in the very next floor, you can get trapped by 3 enemies that you got to use maybe all of those. And you know, that kind of preparation and risk to reward management is a very, very important part to even the early floors in this game. They're already on floor 7, which is a pretty incredible climb at this pace. However, they're having to make conscious decisions on whether or not it's worth fighting some of these enemies. It's worth you know, using one Oleam here just to get by, and it's a very cost to reward style even early on that will impact your inventory, which, you know, if they decide to use an Oleam here and they don't have it on floor 38, you know, it's a huge difference. So it's keep in mind what they're doing, what the differences are, and what they choose to do with their inventory, and we might just see that come back to either bite or reward them based on it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that's one of the hard thing when you actually race the game. You're gonna see a bad situation, and you'll be like, okay, I've got 3 Oleams, so why not use them? And maybe you will use all 3 of them, maybe you will only use 1, but what sticks in your mind every time is, okay, I got out of that situation, I had the items to get out of it, I used 3 Oleams, did my opponent only use 2? And that gets into your mind. That's really hard to tackle, and you start feeling like you're behind because you use all of your 3 Oleams, and you're like, what if Shauny or Orza actually only used 2 or only 1? Was there a more clever play to make that I didn't actually think because I had the resources to spend? And obviously, like you said, maybe on floor 35, 20 floors later, that Oleam you didn't use is actually the key to a worse situation. So, but then you might not use them and die. It's really like, how much are you willing to spend in order to stay alive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially considering if you're just now joining us, you didn't hear the spiel through Cyborg Sand Knight towards the beginning of the game. What happens in this tower is different than what you would typically see because we touched on it earlier. The players are on the same guaranteed seed, so they're facing the same tower that the other is facing, which is something that typically doesn't happen. This is a more recent community effort to make this possible for, you know, viewers and marathons and all kinds of stuff. But it does add that psychological element that Sand Knight was bringing up. It does add the fact where you say, maybe did he pick up all these Oleams? Maybe he missed them. Maybe he hasn't used any. Like, maybe I can get out of this. And it kind of makes you weigh, like, what would the other racer do? How well do I know his approach and his style? And it's something that you'll see as these runs become more and more fleshed out and the tower floors get a little bit higher. But each individual racer typically has a play style that differentiates them from the other. I know that a lot of times you can watch a Shauny stream without Shauny do a run without even knowing it's him and immediately be like, I think that's Shauny, because that's how distinct playstyles can sometimes be and how impactful they can be. So given the same opportunities and the same resources due to the towers being identical, it really does add an element of like, I know Shauny opts to do X, Y, and Z when presented with this situation. My move is to do, you know, A, B, C, and it really does. Sometimes you'll see the players sit in place as they sort through their inventory and wonder, like, what is the least valuable, best way to get out of a situation? And that's truly what sets like great experienced runners from people who are just getting into the run. It's a significant distinction.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and that's one of the wildest thing and the most the thing I appreciate the most about playing the game is definitely the fact that you can have your own play style, and it's not a game that's so solved that you cannot actually, like, everybody needs to play that route, right? I will play extremely aggressive. I will use as little resources as I can to keep them for the last few floors. I will use strategies that are sometimes dubious but just to get out of a situation with one more item in my inventory. Whereas Shauny is exactly the opposite. He will use items when he needs to, even if it means having no items in his inventory anymore. He will make sure that he plays very slow and steady, using MP to just not get hit. So he's very risk averse. I'm very risk player. But we both have, like, he wins against me often. I win against him often. Like, our different playstyle doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It's just different in what suits you. And it's cool that there's a speed game that actually lets you, like, express yourself and the style of play you want to bring into the tower. That will work as long as you just learn the ropes behind the scenes and you can play whatever style you want.
Oh yeah. This is one of the quintessential race games because you can, you know, typically when you see two people race, you know, any other title, you'll see them both take the same route because it's the most optimal. You'll see them both have, in it comes down to decision making and execution. Whereas this, you can absolutely have your own initial thought process going into it. And sometimes you see styles change. Like sometimes Shauny recognizes the situation he's in, and with the flip of a switch, he changes from a more passive and safe approach to, you know, full guns blazing. And the ability to kind of make that distinction and change up because you notice where you're at is a you know, a big proponent to being a really solid runner in this. But Horza over here, he seems to be in a, oh, he's using a fireball. I didn't know he still had charges, but you'll notice he's developing quite a train of enemies behind him, which is always a scary ordeal. But I believe he just used an AI manipulation trick, more or less, where there actually is an element of pathing and how you turn corners, the way that you move along the sides of walkways and stuff like that, that can influence enemy movement. And both of these runners, very experienced, very good at that. So, you know, that's a cool thing to see.
Yeah, monster manipulation is definitely one of the big thing you need to learn as quick as you can. Right now, they are fighting a lot. They are gaining some levels, gaining some HP that they're going to use later on to not get one-shot. Because, yeah, the enemy will start hitting really hard real soon. But generally, in terms of speed and even sometimes just not using too much resources, they will start running away from enemies, and learning how they move is definitely one thing that is... like, it is the key to not getting attacked by everything every time. So, like you said, you can manipulate them sometimes at crossroads. They will know in which direction the monster will move, so they will get out of that way to prevent them from coming at them. The enemies also have, like, a line of sight. It's not really a line of sight, it's more like a box around them. And if you enter that box, then they will aggro to you. But if not, they will, even if they are, like, in a straight line watching you, they won't see you, right? Yeah. But when you're in a room, everything aggroes to you immediately. So that's why we see Shauny.
Speaking of which, yeah, you're seeing the Holy Bell come out. That was actually a rough set of enemies guarding the floor, the elevator up. And as Sand Knight was mentioning the room element, he stepped into a room where everything turned his direction, and the Holy Bell is one of those items that, correct me if I'm wrong, you use it to clear out a room. Once you've stepped foot into a room, you use it to make the enemies basically leave the room. And that gives you, obviously, a few steps of movement of the enemies where you can kind of plan around that. And a super valuable resource, crazy to see it come out so early, but, you know, it is again, we're talking about how can I get the most value out of using maybe just one item. And the monster manipulation that Sand Knight was just touching on is basically like the resourceless resource, where if you know how to do it well, it can basically save you from having to use an inventory slot or something that's a little bit more valuable. So very intelligent. But one thing I wanted to touch on here is we noticed at the beginning, Horza was climbing floors a little more quickly and opting to stay a lower level, while Shauny explored more and did some grinding. And now you can see that Shauny is the higher level and the higher floor, and now he's kind of coasting. So you're starting to see those early decisions have an impact. Now, we would approach what I would consider kind of close to the early mid-game, where monsters are getting stronger. Some of them, like Dreamins, will put you to sleep. You're starting to see a lot of those status effects and things like that come into play. We haven't seen a whole lot of traps, which I know the runners are probably really stoked about. But it is we're starting to get to the point now where every decision could be your last. So this is when it gets really tight. You're going to see the runners start to maybe sort through their items a couple of times before officially pulling one out, like this volcano that horses run up against.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I really like about the game is how hard it is. The enemies really get harder real fast. That makes the concept of using items really relevant. Sometimes there are good items in some RPGs, but you would never use them, and maybe in the speedrun settings because you would maybe level up a little bit less. But generally, we'll just say like, why would I use an item that will shoot fire? If I can just cast a spell fire and it's stronger because I've got intelligence on my caster or whatever. In this game, the enemies get so hard so quick that the items is the answer to pretty much every situation, depending on the item, obviously. And so, since these are resources that you cannot like have a lot of, you cannot buy them, you have to find them, and then there are just a few charges, or sometimes it's just a one-time use. You just want to make sure that you keep them, and that's what makes the run so interesting. Like, how are you going to use those resources, right? Shauny's using very cleverly one item that is a Mahel Seed that lets you for 4 turns act twice per turn. So you use that to increase his chances of actually picking up an enemy monster and throw them away. This is another of the resource-less monster. You cannot do that on every enemy. They need to be not too heavy to do. And if you actually successfully pick up the enemy monster, then you can throw them away. That's really, really good, because then you didn't have to spend any resources at all. So, well, he did use a Mahel Seed to increase his chances.
Yeah.
But my point, Mahel Seed is not the greatest item ever. It's good. But so it didn't cost him quite a lot, and he got rid of 2 monsters for 1 iffy item.
Horza's weighing his clown's HP to worth right about now. That volcano came in and took a nasty shot. Oh, he is going to opt to egg here.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Oof.
Wow.
That's a big cost here. So eggs are very versatile items. You can use them to throw them at enemy. It's called egg bombing. It deals a lot of damage. Actually, the monster spawns at Ko's level plus 50. So that was a level 60 water monster that was hitting that fire monster. So it absolutely one-shotted it, no problem. They can also be used on your monster to feed them. They will recover 50 MP, which is a lot, in exchange for the egg.
Yeah, I believe Shawnee fed he used the truth glass to identify an egg, and it was a dreamin', and he immediately consumed it. Because there are definitely some familiars that are worth a lot more than others.
Yes.
One thing, I believe on floor 16 is one of the first opportunities you have to encounter a barong, am I right?
Yes, absolutely. So every floor is at hand by 6 except 6. So 16, 26, 36. You have the chance to encounter a very rare monster that's called a barong. We might absolutely not see any. Like I said, they are quite rare. But if you do, that monster is quite strong. But you can make it skip its turn by throwing an item in its mouth. It's gonna eat it and then spew something else. And the item it will throw out is 100% random and doesn't check really for rarity. So you could get one of the strongest items. Actually, there's even some items that you can only get that way. And it costs a lot of MP to the barong to actually do that process. So it does it, I think it's 5 or 6 times. And once MPs run out, then it will be, like I said, absolutely unusable. So it's really nice that you can do that like 5 times, and then it becomes like paralyzed because it doesn't have any more MP, and then you can just kill it. And if you know a little bit about Dragon Quest or any game like that, the barong is also like a very, very good XP source. So it's pretty much like finding a metal slime or something like that. So you want to just shuffle a few items and then kill it for the XP.
Yeah. Sometimes you can throw trash you've accumulated at it, and it spits out, gem after gem of really useful thing. But unfortunately, it didn't look like Shawnee encountered one. But he is opting to hack his egg here, which is going to be interesting.
Oh, it's
he did pick up the blue collar.
But I don't think you want to do fusion because it wouldn't change much. Why is he hatching a Palumpa?
That's a good question. I don't know. Was it identified? I know he had...
The Palumpa egg should always be identified unless that was another Palumpa egg, but it's never identified. But the egg you find on floor 1 is
that's right.
The
so
Palumpa
that was the original Palumpa.
I feel it was, yes.
Wow, so he consciously made the decision to hatch the Palumpa, even though the fusion wouldn't do him a lot of good. I think he has a volcano egg as well. Maybe he's planning. I don't know. I'm really at a loss right now, but we're gonna see him get creative. We have to hope it wasn't a mistake because these runners are both so seasoned that mistakes are not a very common occurrence. So maybe he's gonna pull out a strategy that's gonna surprise all of us. Can't wait to see it.
One thing they did is they both changed their shield to a leather shield. The leather shield is actually a very weird choice in the sense that it does give less defense than the very crappy shield you start with, which is the wooden shield. And the reason they do that is actually because leather gives you, it's a hidden bonus, but it gives you an extra chance to dodge. And it's actually very good. It's like going from 4% to, no, it's going from 1% to 12.5. And so the enemies will become so strong that even the best shield will like make you take from 80 to 73 damage. So that doesn't change a lot. But the 12.5% chance to dodge the enemy attack, and then if it happens only once and you dodge like 80 damage, and that's definitely better than any other shield in the game, right?
Yeah, there comes a point in the run where you don't have the decision on, maybe I'll fight my way out of this. Your decision is to escape however necessary. And if you got a 1 in 9 chance of dodging, like, you're gonna take it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The other shield that's actually relevant, they haven't seen yet, is the mirror shield. It will give you 75% chance to reflect spell back at the caster. There's not many casters in the tower as enemies, but there is their spells can be really, really bad. So if you can just at least once make sure that you don't get paralyzed by a block, then you take that, right? It also has a very low defense. It only gives 3 defense. But then again, at that point, it's not about defense anyway. It's all about, can I just nullify 1 attack?
So it looks like Shauny is opting to hatch his second egg now, and everything that Shauny is doing right now has strategy around it. I want to touch on it real quick while he's going to be sitting here. So not only is he panning around to check enemy movement, he's also positioned himself in such a way where if any movement comes from the elevator, which is where he would like to go next, he's at a tile that stands higher, which means he'll do increased damage, as well as the clown is positioned behind him, which means they're going to be safe from any enemy that walks in through that door. So there's like 5 different layers on his strategy. A wee dog, all right.
Okay, Wee Dog's got potent HP and attack, but it really doesn't bring much to the table other than raw stats. And even then, it's not really tanky. Yeah, it's got good HP, but its defense is kind of low. Honestly, I don't think that's a real good find. It could potentially be okay if he loses the Clown, but like right now, Clown is just king. I guess he was hoping for something he could fuse into the Clown to make it stronger.
Or potentially the Palumpa that he has in his back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Also, sometimes you can do some shenanigans in changing the elements of your pet, but right now I don't feel like it's going to help much. Some spells doesn't necessarily get that much stronger from leveling up.
Ooh, he opts to use the Poison Ball here.
Ooh. Alright. So Poison Ball is an AoE, so it did poison both enemies, and they will lose some HP every turn. Obviously, you guys probably know what poison is. But it will just run them out, and at some point, it cannot kill. So at some point, they might just take less than the 4 damage they generally do. Oh, Jesus, it's gonna hurt. Ooh, 27, yep, that's rough.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, so he needs to let poison run its course as much as he can. Okay, that's gonna be time to hit. And that's a kill. Then you can absolutely one-shot the spider in the back. That's not a problem at all. It's not a fire monster. Thunderwave is so potent against them, like 60 damage. Look at that. I mean,
I wonder if he noticed kind of the HP values. Oh, yikes. Oh, these enemies are some of the coolest enemies in the entire game. Every runner loves to see them. I'll let Sand Knight touch on their unique capabilities here in just a second.
Alright, so Pickets are extremely weak. They have HP, but they have no defense and no attack. And when I say no attack, I mean, like, this thing cannot deal 2 damage. It's gonna always deal 1 because it's so bad. So what they do is they mac twice per turn, so they are always under the effect of haste. And the only thing that makes them really dangerous in the end is that they might, instead of attack you, only when they are close to Ko, instead of attacking you, they might just decide to steal your stuff. And like that, he lost the medicinal herb, so he doesn't have his healing item anymore. And to add insult to injury, they don't only steal your stuff, then they run away with it. They just teleport. You can find them back, and then kill them and then get your stuff back. And the way you know that's a picket that stole something from you is that they will never attack you. So if they come close to you in melee, they will just turn around and run away.
Yeah, they spend their whole existence stealing and then trying to escape from you. And like I mentioned, because they're hasted, they move at double the pace that you do. So without, you know, a clown or some kind of ranged damage spell or resource in your inventory, you might as well kiss that item goodbye. It's very rare to back them into a corner.
Yep, sometimes you will be like, okay, I've got a fireball in my inventory, so I'm fine. Like, if they steal something from me, I can just use the fireball to snipe them from afar, and then they steal the fireball, and you're like, oh, okay, no, I'm out. I'm just out of the floor.
You have to weigh, like, what is it worth to me if I want to chase these guys down?
Yeah.
And oftentimes you're going to see the runners opt to, unless it's something crazy, most of the time they're going to choose to just let the pickets go their way. But I think Shauny encountered 3 pickets within like just a small little map space, which is quite unfortunate. Because let's say that each one of those took a steal from him, that could be the 3 items that he needs to go from one later floor to the next. 3 big impactful items can absolutely kill runs.
Oh yeah. Now we've hit both floor 20 on both sides actually. So Orzo was a little bit behind, but he definitely made sure he was catching up. Floor 20 we call Viper Town because it is the introduction of a new enemy which is called Vipers. They are super strong. They hit very hard. They have a lot of HP. Their defense is just middle-ish, but they have so many HP to back them with. They are a problem. Luckily, it is a water monster, so they should be able to kill them from afar. But the danger is also that if they hit you in melee, not only are you going to lose a lot of HP, but also they can poison you, and that permanently reduces your attack power by 1, which you'd never want to see. There is an item to cure that, but if you cannot find the item, then that attack power is going to be lowered forever.
One interesting thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Vipers can have eggs inside of them.
Yes, but they cannot have an egg, but if they find an egg, they will eat it, and then you can kill them to get the egg.
Yeah, and I believe that there's like a weird little caveat where you can actually notice based on like as you're traversing the floor, if you notice that your movement stutters a little bit, unintended, that lets you know that somewhere on this map there's a Viper that ate an egg.
Yeah, so the game will actually do the egg eating animation will take some time, so you cannot move during that like half a second. But obviously you can like know like I'm pushing forward to move and I don't, and you'll be like, okay, no, that's actually a Viper somewhere on the floor that eaten an egg. One interesting thing also about that is if you hatch the egg that was inside the Viper, it will start as a new monster, but will already reduce attack, as if it was poisoned by the Viper. So, like, living inside the belly of a Viper is actually reducing your max attack also.
Ooh, look at this. Shauny with the immediate exit right ahead of him. Understands the risk.
Yeah.
He picks up his pet, steps on it, agrees to take the hit. Oh, man, that's funny. One thing that
sorry, I was just going to say that the blocks do have a range paralyze spell, so that's why it was so dangerous. Taking the hit was not a problem, it's just that if instead it decided to paralyze him, he could have been in a lot of trouble, but he risked it, and he totally deserved that climb.
Yeah, and like I just mentioned, there's, that could have absolutely been the last decision he made in this tower. It could have come down to that. Like, that's how tentative and volatile this game can be. Especially when in these race scenarios. Now you're going to see Shauny do one of his most favorite strategies I've ever seen. He loves to mess with his pet AI in a way that he can kind of take a step, have his enemy attack, relocate his pet again, have his enemy, and that he almost in a sense kites the enemies with almost no risk. And if there's any runner that I see do that more than anybody, it's him. He really, really likes that strategy.
Yeah, the Droust in chat actually mentioned the fact that the speedrunning do skip a lot of the other parts of the game, and that's 100% true. There are categories, as Prof. Nest Pokes mentioned, that there's a 100% in bookless. But yeah, the game is not only tower climbing and mystery dungeon style, it is also a dating sims, and there is some story into building the town back, building elements. This is a really fun game to play casually. Honestly, you should give it a go. But there is more to the game than only the tower climbing. I am all about the tower climbing, but there are other categories that do include town stuff.
Yeah,
and dating sim stuff. Yeah.
Let me make this clear that for this speed run and the sake of entertaining viewership for this specific style of thing we have going on here, you know, we opt to not leave the tower. We opt to limit ourselves to one tower entry, and what you see is what you get. But casually, you do have the opportunity to, you know, get up a certain way, accumulate some decent resources and items and money, return back to town, and then come back to the tower. You know, so it's not as hard as we're making it, but this is definitely the fast, competitive way to do it. So there is a ton of variety and opportunity if you want to pick up the game and play it casually. What you're seeing here barely scratches the surface.
Oh yeah, I will also give in chat the link to our Discord. Oh, that's not the link to our Discord.
Their Discord link is very short.
Oh yeah, just give me a sec. I will grab that one again. It is somewhere around here. There it is.
But yeah, while he's doing that, one thing I want to mention is we were talking about earlier when I've tried to make a point of it at every few floors, the difference in strategy, the difference in Shauny's more farm heavy, more kind of slower paced early floors. And you can definitely see the different peaks between Horza and Shauny's approach. Obviously, Horza was a few floors behind, and he caught up rather quickly. There's definitely the strategies that these two players are choosing to implement have different floors and different time periods where they become stronger. Eventually, you know, they'll kind of both max out at around the same point, and it'll come down to just who can not die for the longest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's really kind of cool to see it ebb and flow, and the levels and the floors fluctuate between the person who's ahead. Right now, this is actually an immensely close race. If it was me, I'd still be on floor 7, and you know, and that's the end of it. So you guys are. It's fortunate we found two runners willing to do this of such high skill level, but different enough strategy that you guys are seeing the exact same tower done in a completely different way. So he did choose to absorb the wee dog.
Oh yeah. So I think the reasoning behind that is that Shauny is definitely one of our more like traditional runner. I'm gonna say he definitely knows the game when it's when you play as a fire monster. I think that's his biggest strength, understanding like what enemy is dangerous and when it's not. Changing it to and he changes back to wind. Okay, I'm not sure I understand then. Okay. No, I don't understand, but that's fine.
Absorbing that, does that give him the wee dog's MP? Because you can no longer feed the wee dog to him.
Yes, okay, I think that's the reasoning behind it. It does give MP. It doesn't really give MP, but it evens out the MP of both monsters. So if, like, Clown was at 10 and then the other one was at, like I don't know, 70, then it would evens out the MP count for both. So Clown would actually get more. I was going to say the feeding the egg is worth more, but he already had hatched it, so that was not an option on the table.
Yeah, so he basically had an inventory slot that he imagined he wasn't going to use. He recognized, ooh!
Evolution, guys! Our clown has become a giant.
You're seeing an evolved clown. I can't remember the last time I've seen this in a tower climb.
Yep.
It is not an easy feat, but now the clown is in full-on Evangelion mode. You guys are seeing it here first.
Oh, yeah! It's gonna start hitting really hard. We have discovered recently, actually, that for some reason we cannot fathom, that monster, and just that monster's got not only base attack stat, but it's got weapon bonuses. The sight is actually worth 8 damage. So for some reason it's gonna hit harder because it's got a sight. But then there's other monster that's got weapon and that doesn't count. But I don't know. I mean, Death is absolutely fantastic as a pet monster. It's gonna help a lot.
Yeah, so back to the wee dog. So Shauny had hatched the wee dog. Once he found out it was a wee dog, it was taking up a spot in his inventory. He made the conscious decision because he knew that he could get at least a little bit of MP out of that wee dog by combining them, knowing he had the item in his inventory to change it back to the element he'd prefer it to be at. So it basically was, with extra steps, a way to get a little bit more MP and also flush out a little of the items in his inventory he probably won't get a whole lot of use out of. So
Yeah,
really interesting, kind of a deep strategy right there with a handful of steps that he made as he was taking step by step through all these dangerous floors. So that's a pretty impressive display of thinking ahead. But right here is a pretty interesting enemy. Shauny's having to weigh what he wants to do.
Oh yeah, so this is called the Killer for some really good reason. The Killer has a stupidly high attack. It doesn't have any defense or HP to back it up. It's just a big bulk of damage. But it also has a special passive ability, and the passive ability is it increases its chance to critical strike from 4 to 25% chance. So not only is it really, really powerful, but it also will just like absolutely wreck everything.
It looks like Shauny opted to change his clown to water elemental now.
Yes, that's more akin to the Shauny I know.
Yeah.
I know Shauny is was a big fan of water strategy, which was not always an easy strat, but we've discovered a lot of new things surrounding it, and I feel like right now is just going to abuse the new knowledge we have. Most of the dangerous monsters later on are going to be either water or fire. And so water is the best element to take care of those two style of monsters. So I think that this is a very interesting decision. What he loses in exchange, though, is that he's going to use mixed magic a lot. Magic in general will not level up unless the monster is in its basic elements. So right now, the spell will never become stronger because the death isn't a wind monster anymore. He feels like level 44, which is a spell level, is going to be enough for the rest of the tower. And I think he's right. Honestly, I think that's more than enough. But he still decided to... the drawback is that he will never become a stronger caster. Yeah, and you're also noticing on the side of Horza here, who's just a couple of floors behind, but you can get a series of, when you move up on the elevator to the next floor being right next to you. So in an instant, this can be leveled out or even completely shifted. But Horza's clown has finally has evolved, so now he's going to be moving forward. You're seeing them both with these kind of higher quality familiars, which is rare. Usually in floor 40 climbs like this, you don't see tier 2 familiar evolutions at all. Sometimes you don't even see your starting familiar last 5 floors. So it can get really interesting. But one thing I do want to mention is we are approaching 45 minutes on the clock, and yes, we have allotted an hour per each runner, per each round essentially, to get as high as they can. So now the psychological element of not only dealing with the same tower, but Horza and Shauny have no idea where the others are in reference to floor. So they have to kind of weigh out where they're at, look at their clock, and think, is this high enough to win? And if not, one that might feel like he's lower with having no idea where the other's at, will start to climb a lot faster with a little less propensity to be safe and hunt for items and things like that. It becomes a much more mad dash in some situations. I imagine Horza is well equipped and experienced enough to know, like, floor 28 at 45 minutes might not do it. So you might see him start to speed up a little bit. But again, it's completely psychological. All he knows right now is that Shauny is not dead. Because if he were to die, or that Shauny died on a floor ahead of him, like, those are his two options. Yes, and that's the scary part, obviously, because the closer you're gonna get to the hour, knowing that Boat Runner can actually generally clear in an hour, like they're really that good. Then that means that there's a very high chance that your opponent's still alive, and you're waiting on chat to receive that message that tells you win, the other one's dead, right? And as long as you're not receiving that message, you're just stressing out, like you say, am I high enough? Like, Shauny is really good. He's got a lot of floors on Horza, but he might think Horza is just like on 36 right now, and he needs to still rush it. And the water strat right now is not helping a lot because those are two very tanky wind monster. You saw Shauny hit only them for 1, so okay, and he needs to get out of the way. All right, let's go. Yep, they also have a range attack. All right, so he uses a Holy Scroll, which is an item that will change the like the monster became his partner for the floor, so he doesn't have it anymore, but that definitely was a big help, because facing 2 of them was really too scary, but one of them, and having an extra partner definitely was a thing. So the monster you see on your screen on Shauny's side, which is called the Glacier, is definitely like the scariest thing ever. They are not that strong, but they will kick ice at you, and you will be knocked back.
Oh my goodness! And look at it.
Yeah,
Shauny
exactly.
is in a bad spot here. But this is where you get to see strategy truly shine. So he opts to Tumna Fruit, the one in front of him, which turns the enemy into a frog. You can, however, still kill the frog for the EXP.
Oh, Letter Shield, let's go! Okay, it's
Wow.
Okay, Letter Shield makes him dodge. That's really good.
He,
Yeah, there's way too many monsters, so I don't know how he's gonna get out of this, but I really want to see inside Shauny's brain, like, how do you get out of that? Oof. He's got good resources, but I don't think he's got...
He doesn't have anything.
Is it gonna be that? He's gonna do it? No! Yes! Pick up the Palumpa and release it. We're gonna see tile immunity again this year. This is crazy.
So, you know, I believe the last time I saw someone do this, it was also Shauny.
Yeah, last year. At
last year at this
ARPGME.
exact same event.
Oh no! He got pushed away from the tile immunity.
Oh my goodness, that is insane.
I didn't even know I could do that.
That's crazy. So what Shauny did right there is he basically, through a few steps, implemented a way to make himself invincible in the tile he was standing in, which is essentially a glitch. But because the glacier pushed him off of that tile, he now has to come up with a completely different option. Like, that's a huge 300 IQ play right there. And
he does the same against... He's doing it again?
He's gonna try.
Yeah, I don't think he had a better thing to do, but he lost the clown. That's important. Like, you lose the familiar you use it on, so... Oh, Jesus. So the one on top of him, yeah, that's the scary one.
Okay.
He's gonna put everything to sleep and then run away. I think that's...
And he's just gonna bail. I think that's the move.
Oh, but it didn't last even a turn. Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, sometimes items in this game don't even get you an extra turn. Like, it can last that little.
Yeah, we actually discovered why. The reason is sleep lasts like around about 10 turns, but if you are in melee with it, the enemy you put to sleep, there is a 50% chance it recovers every turn.
Wow, so he's a couple steps closer to not being in this room anymore, but at the same time...
yeah, that's it. That is it.
Yep, there it is.
And we have a death of floor 36, which is quite good.
Which is no joke. No joke at all.
From new game to floor 36 in one shot, that is absolutely nothing to scoff at. But Orza is on its trail. Yeah, he took a little bit more time to get there, but he has good resources, and he's moving along. The monster that were problematic for Shauny were wind and water monsters, and not changing death element this time is actually a good thing. If he faces the same enemies, obviously, if he makes like similar decision, obviously. Now, that being said, those fire monster like dragons and killers and maximums are going to be problematic, though. That death will deal absolutely no damage to them. So we'll have to see. This is same tower, but very different decision making has made the end game here really different for both these players. Like I said, their play style will make a difference, and this is something I really appreciate.
Yeah, and Horza, he doesn't know that he only has 10 minutes to get 2 floors. You know, obviously, if he did have that kind of information, it would affect how he plays right here. But the that information being absent from him is going to, you know, he's going to continue to play how he is. You know, typically if you were to tip him off or whatever, they might, you know, just beeline it. But now he's going to have to, like, we could see him die. Just, I mean, it might seem easy. Just make it 3 more floors in 10 minutes. You know, but he doesn't realize that. So it's a very psychological element. You're seeing the golems now fight each other, which is a pretty creative strategy.
Oh yeah, he needed to do that because the pincer would have been too much.
Yeah, he's trapped by 3 big enemies though. Like, this is again not a super simple situation to get out of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Ooh,
Oh,
boy,
geez.
do they hit hard.
54. Yeah, he cannot just take another hit. Like, the next move he does needs to clear the one on the left.
Okay. That's not bad. I think
okay, that's good.
I think he's got a good opportunity to potentially make it out of here without expending a whole lot of resources.
He's got a restore scroll. I think that's why he feels so confident about doing these, like, less than savory move, let's call it that.
Okay, so he opts to throw the volcano egg.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, that's a super solid, really efficient resource that he had right there. But again, you know, he doesn't realize how much further he has to go. So, you know, that could be something that inside, mentally, he was really battling with having to use because it is such an effective removal tool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That that dragon would absolutely have been impossible to fight with the setup he has right now, so that's why he's moving backwards. And now glaciers are not going to be a problem at all because Thunder Wave is absolutely going to wreck through them. Actually, he's very close to one-shot, so that level up might just tip the balance into one-shotting them now.
Now you're seeing him stutter step his way to the elevator. Nice! He is now hitting floor 35.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, okay. So again, this is a situation. Oh! He holy bells out. Immediately makes it to floor 36 with a really fortunate placement.
And it's important to say that...
oh, and he saw the elevator.
Yeah, in case of a tie, though, it's not... it would be Shauny that would win here because we do want to, like, focus on speed. So Shauny getting there first means that if there is a tie, then he wins. Now, floor 36 seems to be a lot less rough on Orza's side because of the different decision they made. And that glacier he can take care of absolutely no problem. Like I said, it's probably one shot anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when he landed on this floor, the way that the camera panned immediately revealed where the elevator was, and he identifies it and he moves to floor 37. That's going to be it. That is a victory to Horza's side. He still has about 6 minutes. Do we want to see if he makes it to the 40?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna just go and prep the next seed if you just want to move forward. Like there was some problem in making the seeds earlier on, so I'm gonna try to fix that, and I'll be back in a sec.
Not a problem. So here we have Horza has pulled this victory out, but he has about 6 minutes to potentially make it 3 more floors to the max floor. This is a best of 3. For anybody who's just now joining us, I'll do a once over on the rules really quickly. What happens is we have 2 runners, a best of 3. Every round of the 3 rounds has you have an hour to make it as high as you can. Now, whenever one player dies, that's where his floor count will be. That next player, then, the one still alive, has to beat that floor in order to get the victory. Now, if both of them die on the same floor, the first player to reach that floor would be the one that was going to win. But now that the W has gone to the side of Horza here, we are actually going to see if he can make it go the distance. It's very rare. You know, it's becoming more and more common as these runners become more and more insanely talented at the strategies in this game. But I've actually, like, there's a lot of people, myself included, who have done runs of this game who've never even made it to floor 40. So to be able to see it in this situation under these kinds of under this kind of pressure and these kinds of rules is pretty unprecedented. So we're gonna let him go. We're not gonna give away too much yet. We're gonna see if he can pull it off. It is hopefully going to be a really close match. I mean, this one in and of itself, you know, really came down to it. So if you at the same time, it looks like Shauny's doing you guys the service of flipping through the monster compendium to show you just all the things that they could possibly encounter. Ooh, Horza is moving very slowly. You're seeing him take step after step. He's opting to use the distance magic on top of the poison. So the reason that he's doing this is, first of all, everything has a set amount of HP, so he identifies how much HP that enemy had. This Glacier here, he should be able to dispatch quite easily with the type of magic that he has. But that first one, what he did was he poisoned it. Now, poison cannot kill an enemy. So as he kited the enemy away and its HP whittled, he realized how much HP it was left at, how much HP he would do per attack, and how many spaces he had between himself and the enemy. So he knew, he did the math, and he figured out that after the damage that poison had done, that he would be able to kill it before it reached him, and he did. So really safe, intelligent play right there. He does have a little bit of difficulty as this golem here is blocking the path that's necessary for him to get to the next floor. He is going to opt to use an egg. Oh, nice. Sometimes you get familiars that pop out of these eggs that are just not excellent. So I don't believe that egg was identified. He's taking a little bit of a calculated risk. And the elevator is right next to him. Immediately to floor 39. Wow, he's got a little over 3 minutes to go a single floor. But right away he's put into a room where there's some precarious individuals. You can actually see on the mini-map in the bottom right corner what enemies are being represented without even having to flip the camera around. Now, it looks like some of them are asleep. The Glacier, again, he won't have a whole lot of difficulty with. Ooh! And it woke up. So he's going to have to figure out the most intelligent way to get rid of the enemy in front of him. Oh, so he's going to decide to backtrack. Now, that dragon that was coming his direction was going... Oh, very intelligent move. So the Holy Bell makes enemies leave the room. So he stepped back into the room, willingly took that one hit of damage to know that he could set up the Holy Bell to get himself safely out. He's using the Star Glass now, which reveals the entire map and lets him know where the exit is. So now it's going to come down to intelligent manipulation of enemy movement and making it to the elevator. And ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Horza has advanced to floor 40. At the 58-minute mark. Incredible. So on floor 40, there is a final boss fight, quote-unquote. If you've played the game casually and never made it this far, do not feel upset. Tons of people have it. It's difficult. That's why it is a spectacle to see it in a race scenario such as this. But he's going to have an interesting little bit of dialogue here with Beldo, the antagonist of the game. And he's going to kick his butt real quick. Now you're going to see CUNY, who we haven't had the entire game, make an appearance as if they were there the whole time. But yeah, that's truly incredible in less than an hour to be able to pull that feat off. And you saw the insanely strong Holy Bell come out at the end. The eggs that he had were the difference maker in him making it the last 2 or 3 floors. Now, had he opted to use that Holy Bell a little bit earlier, he could have, obviously there was no way out of that situation aside from that based on the inventory he had, as far as I could tell.
Hey, Orza made it to 40!
Yeah, oh man, he pulled the Holy Bell out that got so much value. It was crazy. I believe he had a Glacier, 2 dragons, and a golem on him. And he opted to step back into the room, Holy Bell, to avoid the dragon coming in his direction. And then Starglassed made it to the exit, all on floor 39. It was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I saw it from the other side of my on my other screen, and definitely that was the gameplay. That was
the play. It was a brilliant, super high value play, and now you're gonna see him finish the game with this anime finish.
Oh yeah.
And he even defeated the final boss.
Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna do a quick reset and reset up to race 2.
Shauny.
It's gonna be fun to just run at it again and see if they can clear again. But wow, like seriously, just clearing on the first run, that's a thing. From new game to that, the game was absolutely not intended to be clear in one go, and it just goes to show how practiced and how well they just learn how the game works.
Yeah, we saw a double tile immunity and a floor 40 in the same race. Like, it's going to be hard to live up to that in the next one. That was crazy. Had Shauny had a Holy Bell in that situation, would be having a completely different conversation. Yeah. So that it can't be understated just how important a single resource can be.
Did you folks want to have the runners come in and do a brief little talk, or you want to rapid fire them off into another one?
Oh, we'll go into the other one. We'll do one interview at the end for the whole thing, but we'll fire the other one off.
Perfect. Alrighty then. So prep your runners then, and we'll get this reset and ready to go.
All right.
So while Sand Knight does get them prepped, I will, again, this is Azure Dreams, the PS1 title. I am Professor Palmer. Sand Knight is the incredible host joining me.
I'm Sand Knight.
Yep, and the runners Shauny and Horza are battling in a best of 3 kind of community developed seed system here that makes them take on the same tower together. And we're going to see who can bring home the most W's out of those 3 games. It is super interesting. We already saw some insane creativity, and who knows what the next match is going to hold. Horza's in that good quality credits scene. I love it because you got Ko just running endlessly for forever.
Just the animation and the music for the ending cutscene is like a third of the whole size of the game.
Yeah, and it's hilarious because like there's a few, it's nothing to be like this is the most amazing credits roll I've ever seen, but certain games with the amount of soul that they take out of you, when you hear that, you're like, this is the most serene I've ever felt. Because when you hear that sound and you see that silly running animation, you're like, I did it. Oh my god, it's over. Those are nice feelings, and they sometimes mean a lot. Now we get to see the beautiful floating baby here. This angel baby that you're seeing on Shauny's screen here is actually this is the Teletubby baby's side job as he got a little bit older and was no longer able to fill that role on television. So it'll be just a moment while we get these runners reset up. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to. We got chat open here. Myself or Sand Knight can absolutely answer them. If you're interested in playing the game casually, by all means, go pick it up, check it out. If you guys are interested in getting a little bit more information on how often the community does events such as this, or how to get started doing something like this, the leaderboards are very robust, offering a lot of different categories and options for you. The Discord is enormous now. It's blown up since the community has really gotten super involved. Crazy stuff is happening all the time. So join that. It's a great wealth of information. You can absolutely get in there, and just even if you want to lurk and stay up to date on what events are happening when.
Yeah, if you guys have any links that you want to drop for that, just let me know who to let there. I think Don Forgo is definitely one of those people that would have access to those links.
Yeah, Don, if you got an opportunity to drop the Discord, man, absolutely feel free to do so.
I'm posting it right now. The link to our Discord. Absolutely feel free to join. We are a pretty chill community, and we you don't need to speedrun the game to join. We definitely are the community to go to place to just talk about Azure Dreams in general, your love for the game, the characters, the town, the tower, and everything. Yep, exactly. So we are absolutely happy to see you come in. It's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously, if you want to learn the game, that's also the place to be. We will teach you all we know. We've got many resources, videos, and text. And we are always happy to answer any question you might have about the game. Like Palmer said a few times earlier, the game is not necessarily an easy one, and a lot of people did own the game and still never beat it. We might help you get there.
Someone needs to. They could just whisper me the link and I can post it. Better yet, I'm pretty sure I can grab it for you guys. Thank you. Alrighty. I'm sorry, Don Forgo. Alrighty, so racers are getting set up.
Alrighty, apologies. I'm back. Had to go refill my water. Looks like we're about to get ready. Get back in on the action. Sand Knight's Discord link.
It's just interesting that it got bopped, but it wasn't Moobot that did it. But it's all good.
Cool. Well, I believe Sand Knight is probably getting these runners a countdown. Horza looks like he's might have stepped away to have a restroom break or get a drink or something, but he will get to the same screen that Shauny is currently at. You're going to see. And we'll get started with this next race now. It is, let's keep in mind, Horza is up 1 win to Shauny 0. Now that can, if we do see a second win from Horza right here, that would obviously take the best of 3, and we might just do a fun little wild third round. But ideally, Shauny takes a W here, and we see a really, really tight press for the third win in that best of 3 situation. There are a ton of really, really unique strategies and things that we won't even get to see, even if we do 10 runs, just because that's how in-depth and robust this game can be. But Sam and I, myself, will do as much as we can on explaining things that we see and kind of play calling as the players go ahead. Looks like Horza has stepped back. It's going to be setting himself up to get started. And Sam and I will give these guys a countdown. So again, anybody in chat, you have any kind of questions, wondering why someone's doing something, absolutely feel free to ask, man. We're staying on top of it, and we would love to answer your questions. So one thing that's worth mentioning is, now this game is 3D to an extent, so it's not super pertinent. But Sony actually required games that were released in the early stages of the PS1 to have some kind of 3D element. So as Sand Knight mentioned earlier, that certain scenes takes up almost all of the storage on the game. There's a handful of games that actually the developers put a 3D cutscene in there just to meet that qualification, that otherwise on a 50 megabyte game, 30 of those megabytes are that 3D element that Sony was requiring. So it looks like the race is now commenced, and the runners are taking off.
And they are taking off. Sorry about being away a little bit. We had a few things to deal with, but these are all dealt with now, and we will be starting. So one of the things I want to touch is we have had a new patch for the randomizer lately, and it seems that it had caused some problem. It has disabled the ability to start with CUNY as a starting monster. So the cute monster they're talking to right now, which should be the monster you have. We have an option to randomize that into something else, and it seems like right now the default option is not possible. So that's why they had a clown instead of having a CUNY. So it definitely took us by surprise, and it definitely took our runners by surprise, especially since now they have a maximum, which is a lot less good.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's very, very strong, but its MP consumption is doubled, and it's also doesn't have a spell. So it might be a little bit on the tougher side, honestly.
This could actually, especially early on when resources and things like that are limited, this could actually be, I know that it looks like it's going to be super strong, but this could actually hurt them a little bit.
It's weaker than CUNY, obviously, because mixed magic is so good. But then it's not weak as in it's going to die early on, or it's not going to be able to fight. It could. It's just that it spends a lot of MP doing so. So that's why you see Shauny not using it to battle. It probably will keep it for those bad situations.
And Horza immediately returned it to the bag.
Yeah, I think that's also a fair thing to see. So we saw how good a monster could be, and they definitely cleared both the tower. The rougher part was that they didn't know it was going to happen. Neither did we. But now they know. They knew that there was going to be random monsters to start the thing. Oh, he's gonna hatch the Palumpa.
Wow.
Is that a thing? Palumpa
That's a
percent?
super interesting strategy he's going to go with, but that's kind of the glory of it. Don't let Sand Knight undersell it, guys. We don't tell these dudes anything. We tell them they're going to have to be here to play. They show up, and that's all they know. So let that lend itself to just how creative and fast thinking these guys can be. They don't even know what's going to happen as soon as they walk into the floor that you can't even die on. That's how intense we are right now.
Exactly. But yeah, jokes apart, definitely this is going to be on tougher than the other run. But it's going to be more interesting as well. So we talked about knowing how to manipulate enemies in corridors to like make them go the other way, like you called it the resourceless resource, which I really, really like. So you're going to see a lot more of that. They're going to need to, because obviously they cannot make more mileage out of this maximum than they did from the clown. So they might go like Orza is actually going solo co, which we call the Comendo. He's practiced that a lot. Is actually trying to do any percent runs using only co and not even a pet and not fighting as much. So that's a strategy, but that's definitely obviously maybe faster, but
yeah, one thing that
100 times harder. Yeah,
one thing that's worth mentioning though is that the EXP is no longer split between co and a familiar. So Horza, while opting to have the familiar bagged, he's going to earn more EXP over time than Shauny is by having that Maximus out, the maximum out that he has right now. So Horza is he might be a little over leveled in some of these early stages, but that we talked about different strategies having different peaks where they become the strongest during the whole course of the tower climb. That one peaks somewhere in the middle, but towards the end of the game, I mean, it becomes a lot harder because you don't have as many creative options. At the same time, though, once you get to the high enough floors where you can't really fight stuff anyways, it kind of becomes a wash. So we're going to see two creative different styles here.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on the double MP cost. So we generally go by mixed magic because it costs. It's weird, I know, but it costs less MP to use mixed magic than to attack, physically attack. I mean, and the maximum trait is they have very high stats, but in exchange they burn MP at twice the rate. So we saw like the 0.75 MP cost of Thunder Wave.
Yeah, it looks like Shauny's already used half of his mana.
Oh yeah, he's past half. He's got 34 out of 80 MP now, and he is on floor 3. So you can see how this is going to be a problem really, really fast. Maybe I know he knows, so I guess he's just gonna use it to get some early easy level, and then he's just gonna ditch it. Because yeah, maximums past that point when you don't want to spend MP recovering items on it because it's going to burn through them so fast.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot less value out of your pitas, your feeding eggs, and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Palumpa is an option either, but I feel like if they find an egg, they're going to scout it as quickly as they can or just run solo co, which is what Orza is going on right now. I think that's quite clever as well.
Yeah, so you're going to see Horza with the EXP. He's already level 5 now, still on floor 3. And that is, lends itself a little bit to that EXP gain that he's going to receive. Shauny opting to, I wouldn't necessarily call it safer, just different. I mean, obviously he's going to take less damage from the flames and stuff like that because he can just use the giant Maxim to do all his work for him. But I imagine once that Maxim is out of MP, he's just going to bag it.
Or even release it. I mean, because some monsters is actually you can keep them in your inventory even if they're MPLS for some reasons. We saw tile immunity is one of the things you can do with a monster even if it doesn't have any MP. But the problem is you can only do that if the monster is light enough that you can pick it up. And obviously that big ball of spike is too heavy to be lifted. So yeah, maximums won't even be useful for that. So I don't see any reason to keep it as soon as it runs out of MP, which is going to be probably that encounter. And he's feeding the PETA. Okay, all right.
Wow.
All right.
So there's a couple of reasons that he might be doing that. For one, he has a plan that we're not privy to. Or two, he thinks that this could be such an early ending race that he's willing to dump those resources in.
Yeah,
or it could be some completely unknown third option. That's just, there's so much variety to every decision that's made that, even myself and Sand Knight can't always stay ahead of it.
Yes. I think the reasoning, if I had to try to find why he did it, is that PETA will probably be useless unless you find an egg, and you might not.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
That PETA is also taking us an inventory slot that you're not going to really use. So why not feed it and use that maximum for as long as you
Oh,
can?
wow. So Shauny now has a Blaze Ball and an Ice Rock Ball in his inventory. I know that Horza picked up the Blaze Ball as well. Let's see if he can get this, because those Ice Rock Balls, they are a little niche in their functionality,
Yes.
but later on, when you need an enemy to focus anything but you to get a couple steps away, those there is no better option. So this can sometimes protect you a lot by blocking pass and things.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I absolutely adore Ice Rock. It is, like you said, a little bit niche, especially because they will not aggro enemy 100% of the time, but they have increased aggro chance. So I'd say they have like around about 75% chance to hit the Ice Rock instead of you, which is absolutely huge. And then you can just run away and let them hit on that big ball of ice.
And the
it
ice
will not defend itself, but it'll.
The ice has what 200 health, I believe, right?
It's 200 plus an amount depending on what level you cast it, but like the extra HP is like maybe +1 per level, so I don't think it's really relevant. Around about 200 to 220.
Yeah, basically a 200-ish HP resource that blocks paths, so enemies can't reach you. But also, in the case that it's that they have to walk past it, will force the enemy to aggro it in most cases. So it definitely has such interesting use, and on top of that, it's one of the more creative. Like, you really get to see creative implementations of it,
Yes.
which is always fun to see. It's fun to see how different runners choose to do silly sometimes things that you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense, and then and then it comes together, and you're like, oh, okay.
It's also a water elemental monster, the Ice Rock, I mean. So if you use it in front of a fire monster, it will also deal decreased damage. So if you use it on the right monster, it'll stay there for a really long time before the enemy can absolutely break them. Again, a wind monster, sure, it might take only a few turns for it to clear it, but even if it's only 2 or 3 turns, then you can use that to run away, and that might be just enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think back to Shauny's death in the last tower climb, had he had an Ice Rock Ball to absorb the blows from all those enemies, giving him potentially 1, maybe 2 steps away, we'd be having a completely different discussion about the last race right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it just comes, there's so many resources you can have that make those impacts, and there's so many different ways to use each different one. And sometimes you can have all the right resources, and if you just make one misstep on how you utilize it, it'll still cost you. So there's always something changing and happening. Horza is level 6 on floor 5, where on the opposite is true. Shauny is now going up to floor 7 at level 5. So I think Horza is going to have a pretty strong middle game, because his co is going to be quite stout. But he does have to, he can't afford to get himself as boxed in as Shauny can with that extra body to absorb the heat.
Oh, yeah. So on Shauny's side, he actually has fed the Palumpa Egg to his maximums. So now he's just putting everything into.
Yeah, he quite literally is putting all his eggs in that basket.
But he's actually has found another Pita fruit, so he actually has another option for the next time. That's actually really cool.
And he goes with the risky UFO grab.
It wasn't risky because when they're sleeping, grabbing them.
Oh, was it
100%.
asleep?
Yeah, it was asleep.
Oh, nice.
So grabbing is 100%. And you really don't want to fight those U-boats because they can get underground, and when they do, they are immune to everything. So if you want to fight them, you will have to let them get out of the ground and attack on the same turn, so they will always get first strike on you, right?
Yeah, the U-boats, man, they are, especially if you're new, picking up the run for the first time, they're
risky.
They're the true definition of difficulty curve, because you're just casually making your way up the tower, and then a U-boat comes, and I don't know if you guys notice that they will, when they're awake, hide beneath the ground, so they're not even targetable. Once they get close enough to you, they will pop out of the ground. They do a lot of damage for the level that you encounter them. They're quite sturdy. For the level that you encounter them, and a really effective way to deal with them is to either obviously use a removal item, but to also attempt to pick them up. But that's a dice roll whether or not you get punched in the face.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can also dance with them. U-boat dancing is a thing. If you step on their tile while they are underground, you can still walk on them, and they will have to move away from you. So you can like chain steps on walking on them all the time. And if you know how to control that a little bit, sometimes you can get just like find the elevator, never having to fight them. But that's also risky because if another monster comes in while you're dancing, then you have no control on your moves if you do not move on the tile on to the U-boat itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And you actually will get hit. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, sometimes you can actually U-boat dance yourself into inevitable doom, because as soon as you realize, oh, well, now I have to maybe backtrack or go a different direction, that U-boat pops up and you're dealing with 2 enemies all of a sudden as opposed to 1, which in some cases it's almost worth you dealing with the U-boat when you encounter them if you have the opportunity to do so. But again, it's one of those risk to reward situations. It's having an enemy appear is not always going to happen, but it can. So on Horse's side, he looks like he's hatching the Palumpa. Was that a second Palumpa hatched?
No, that's the first one.
Okay.
The first time you actually bring it to 99% even.
Oh, okay, and he held on to it.
Yes, so the monster will spawn on the lowest amount between coast level and the floor count. So I think he wanted to have a Spelunpa higher level. I don't know what he's doing with the Palumpa.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, you have to imagine that he got it up to that point, knowing that at whatever floor he was ready to pull it out at, he would only have to hatch it a little bit more. And boom, it's higher level. But he chooses the Ice Rock Ball now, which, as you can see, how much damage these enemies are doing to this Ice Rock. 200 HP. See, we're going to be here a while.
Yeah, so he's just running away. That's a really good usage of the Ice Rock. It feels real bad because when you use it, you see all those animation of enemies attacking it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a long time, and you're like, oh, okay, I just feel like so sluggish right now.
Yeah, but you don't die.
Yeah, exactly. From a viewer standpoint, it's really like, oh no, that was clever. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
He is also zooming camera, which feels terrible. But the attack animation will only play if the enemies are in line of sight. So by zooming in, you actually reduces the amount of time you need to look at the attack animation. That was a very clever use of the camera here.
Yeah, it does upset your tummy there a little bit. Ooh, this is a rough room he's putting himself into. Thankfully, we haven't seen any trap or monster dens yet.
Yeah. We can say all the bad things we want about the maximum itself, but it's actually like earning its stripes. It really hits hard, and it's really winning its battles.
Shauny dancing a little close there with an 8 HP he got down to. One thing that is worth mentioning, if you're not super familiar with the game,
that's clever. He's using Repel Ball.
Oh my gosh!
The monster's immune to magic and reflecting it, and he's using Recovery Ball to reflect healing back to himself. Let's go, Shauny.
Wow. So Shauny is using a 2-step process there to get a little bit of heal out of something that otherwise isn't really meant to heal you.
Yeah, exactly. The healing spell is so bad because you can heal everything except yourself, and that's always yourself you want to heal. But with the use of the Repel Ball, now we have a clever use of the items. It takes 2 inventory slots, fine, but he doesn't have anything better to put in those slots right now.
Exactly, especially considering Sand Knight mentioned earlier that there's not a ton of enemies in this game that utilize magic that you would really be like, oh, I'm holding on to this reflect for this one situation. So Shauny knows that he's going to get at least a lot more immediate value. And he immediately zones into the room with the blue collars. Yeah, I don't see how he could use it in this precarious situation with the maximum and whatnot. But it's always nice to have, just so you can see how creative they can come up.
If he still had the Palumpa egg, which he doesn't, he could have fused them to get a water maximum. I feel would have been actually nice. But I don't think he's going to try to go for the shenanigans right now.
Yeah. So on one side of him is a Dreamin'. I don't know if we talked about it earlier, but they don't do a whole lot of damage.
No.
But they can put you to sleep. So the worst thing to encounter is a Dreamin', and then all of a sudden get put to sleep and then see other enemies coming your way, because then you're in a spot that's a lot less manageable. The Dreamins themselves are relatively easy to dispatch, give a decent amount of EXP, so they're not super scary on their own, but what comes with them is typically what you got to really worry about.
Yeah, it's 95% of your runs. You will just grind them because they're worth a lot of XP and be on your merry way, and you'll be actually happy to see them. But once in a while, you'll lose a very good run to just they put you to sleep. If Griffin enters the room, rise you from the far, and you're dead, and you'll be like, Jesus, why? But yeah, Dreamins, they are the best until they are the worst.
Okay, so Horza gets a back-to-back single room elevator, which is really nice. So he's already up to floor 12, but he's falling behind a little bit in the level aspect, even though Shauny has had the maximum amount the entire time. And it is way too early to say how impactful that's going to be. But Horza knows the amount of opportunities and risk he's able to take are definitely going to have to be a little bit more calculated.
Yeah, that's the scary part. You got to realize they only have like 2 floors to differentiate them right now, and one of the players actually didn't even use a pet. So that just goes to show how impressive like Horza is right now. I am really, really impressed by the level of play shown here. Not that Shauny is not actually playing well. The monster he has is nothing super crazy, and he's still managing to get a very good amount of floors in a very impressive amount of time. It just goes to show like very different approach to the same problem, and that's one of the things. Like I said, it's just like expressing themselves. I really like how Azure Dream lets you do that.
Yeah, one thing, picking up enemies is one of the nicest things, and it's again, an option that you sometimes have depending on the enemy, that doesn't cost you any of your inventory. But man, if it backfires on the wrong enemy where you try to pick them up and they say no, that can be the end of it. Like that could be the last decision you make sometimes. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be a what does he want to do? So if the Dreamin puts him to sleep near one or 2 of these volcanoes,
that's
spells disaster. That's bad. And look, he's assessing his map. He's assessing his positioning. Oh my goodness, he's going to have to ice rock.
Yeah, you can see the hamster spinning because this situation is really, really not fun. I think Ice Rock could be interesting. Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, Ice Rock is a smart play there. Just because aside from attracting the aggro of all those enemies, it actually keeps that last volcano from even being able to move forward, just because of that path being a single tile. Now he's going to throw the Dreamin.
I think he's going to throw it at the Griffin. We didn't speak about that, but if you throw that at a distance before a growing has happened, you can actually turn the enemy around. It changes their pathing, and now that Griffin is actually going to move backwards, and it will not have to deal with it. So he only needs to kill that one, and he should be fine, because behind him he's got the Ice Rock, and in front of him the enemies are actually moving backwards. And we have a monster den!
Oh my god. Wow.
Okay, so Monster Dens is a trap that you cannot see, obviously.
Oh my god.
On it will fill the room with everything that exists in the world. So it also changes the music, which I always appreciate. But oh my god, okay, to have that in a tournament, in a showcase, in a marathon, that's actually crazy.
Yeah, I think I've only actually seen one ever before in the years of following the game. So that's actually amazing. Trap rooms I've seen a few more of, but this is like Shauny is sitting here and he has to imagine what the thoughts going through his head are basically hopefully Horza's dead because that's pretty much his way out of this one.
I feel the only play is to, I don't know, like...
He tried to Ice Rock. He can't immunity with the maximum because of its current positioning.
I would have done the same as he just did. So I feel like that's a clever play. He's going to take a hit, but 1 is not too bad.
Oh, he does have a medicinal herb still, I believe. He might have to... Well, if you forfeit the turn using that, you're basically back where you're at.
Yes, that's the problem.
Horza fell asleep. Oh,
we have bad situation on both ends, but he's fine. But he could still get sniped, and there's griffins all over. What's this scene? What's happening around here?
Oh my goodness. So Shauny is now not taking damage.
Yes.
But he is stuck. Like he doesn't he can't get to the exit. So he's gonna
He could like the up left tile is his own monster, so he could move up left and then left if he survives the turn, but he needs to survive that turn. And he's dead! The Garuda didn't want to hit the actual Ice Rock. Like I said, very high aggro chance for the Ice Rock, but not 100%. Yes, let's get some F in chats, please. For Shauny did it great. Oh, that was a great play, honestly.
Dude,
wow.
So you could literally see the thought process happening in his brain in that room. Good. And look at Horza's not much better off. 2 floors down. He's almost created his own monster den.
Yeah, and the monster den is going to be on floor 14 for him as well.
Exactly.
So on it, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Shauny getting on the corner of shame, that he calls it himself. But yeah, absolutely no shame here. That was a really good play. Like, the way he actually tried to make it work was very low chance, but to no fault of his. I really like the approach he did. Like, the 2 Ice Rock and then the Mahel Seed. I think that was really, really interesting.
Let's say what happens, you have a Holy Bell. Everything just cuts out?
Yeah, you just win? Holy Bell, you're fine.
Okay, wow. So, yeah, I mean, that Holy Bell is like the obvious answer there, but, you know, that is a rare feat. Sometimes you go whole runs without seeing one. But, wow, yeah, I mean, I was racking my brain trying to think of what, you know, ways maybe he didn't see. Maybe there's a play he doesn't see, but I think he played it about as perfectly, and he had to depend on RNG. Oh, and, yeah, really, really no shame there. But it looks like Horza's had to use, let's keep in mind, in the last floor where he got boxed in, he had to use a charge of Ice Rock, 2 charges of Blaze Ball, and he had to throw a Dream in to get out of it. So those 3 elements of resources, the 2 Blaze and the Ice Rock,
yes,
that's valuable. And then on the floor we just saw, he had to use 2 Ice Rock and Sleep. So if he happens into the same situation that Shauny did, he might even be less well equipped to deal with it. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, he's not immune to falling into the same trap that Shauny did right there. There is the floor. Elevator up.
He's on 14. That's the floor where there is the monster den.
Oh, okay. Well, no monster den. All he has to do is make it to the next floor. But again, he's lower level than Shauny was, and he doesn't have a familiar. So his options are still a little bit less. So it's very possible he could die here before making it to the escape. So we're going to have to watch patiently. Due to how many steps he's already taken, if there was a monster den, I believe that they would have already kind of gone their separate way if they were awake. He has the elevator in sight and the W.
Oh, yeah.
A few steps away.
So he didn't step on it as long as he just take the elevator. That is going to be the race. Wow.
Wow.
And it is. Wow. All right.
Amazing. Poor Shauny. Oh, man. So that is Shauny pulling out the double tile immunity, the monster den. We saw a floor 40. I mean, you can't knock the guy, dude, because that was a situation that I think every single runner would have. You could have probably tried 100 different ways to make it out of there and found one that might have worked based on RNG. So that is, I mean, you hate to see it, but personally, as a viewer, I kind of loved it. I was kind of a fan. It was kind of cracked me up to watch Shauny squirm like that because, I'm just glad it's not me on that end.
Yes, absolutely. So, I guess, Smash, you are listening to this. The race is a victory on Aura Society. Did win both of them. We definitely would like to do a friendly third just for fun. It's not going to be to determine the winner, obviously, but just to make a showing. I think we have a little bit of time left.
Yeah, you guys definitely have time. Don't worry about that.
So if people in chat would appreciate that as well, I think we should do a third one. Give a chance, Shauny, to actually go for maybe not the victory, but at least glory itself.
Yeah, redeem himself a little bit.
I feel like he can definitely do it.
I would agree with that. I mean, Monster Dan on one side and not on the other is nothing he can do. I mean, that was just very, very bad. So yeah, let's do that again.
Yeah, we were really hoping. I kind of was like, I know it's awful of me to say, but I was really hoping Horza got put in the Monster Den too. I wanted to see what he was gonna do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have liked to see that, but again, player decision.
Yeah.
I'm gonna set them up for a friendly third, and we are gonna go from there. I'll be back in a sec.
Absolutely. So while Sand Knight is getting them situated, and we're gonna figure out how we want to handle this third and final little tower climb here, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody at ARPGME for letting all of us have this run here. I'd also like to thank all the Horza and Shauny for coming out and giving it their best shot. Sand Knight for commentating with me. The whole Azure Dreams community for developing an incredible, seed locking tower climb situation where we, as viewers and commentary, can take the opportunity to watch them deal with the exact same tower, and you still, that last round was more proof of it than anything. You can still see just how different things can end up. It was really awesome. Again, Mash and everybody at ARPGME, thank you guys for letting us put this on display. We did it last year, and it was an absolute blast, so we're stoked to be doing it again. Again, anybody in chat, you have any questions, if you're interested in joining the Azure Dreams Discord, you just want to stay up to date on the events as they happen, there's a lot of community-run things that they do. Feel free to check that out. If you are also looking to pick up the game as a speed run, so you're not going to find a better place to get the information that you need there. And also, I guess that's about it. Horza did pull out the victory, so I'll save you guys having to explain the rules of the race one more time. But Shauny, in both situations, reached the floor first. And, it was in the first race, he got all the way to 36, reached it a couple minutes first. And Horza, slow and steady, ended up getting it past it where Shauny fell short. Both times, Shauny made it all the way up. And he just couldn't get lucky enough. Man, that monster den was that's a rare feat. It really is. So we got to see reflect heal, double immunity, monster den, a floor 40, all in the last 2 hours. That's pretty awesome. I'm glad that the game is definitely allowing us to come out and put on a showing. So looks like Sand Knight has got them moving. Now they're not Horza's typing in his name here. I don't know. I imagine because they're still rocking the same seed, that they are going to get another random monster in the beginning instead of Queenie, which was a completely unexpected and unplanned for occurrence. But as it's obviously lended itself to some pretty awesome viewing. One thing that I am curious about is how the glitched entry affects the seeded, random monster thing. Oh no, looks like Shauny is throwing some shade here.
I find this very humorous.
It looks like Shauny is trying to tell us to blame Sand Knight, and I feel like that's only fair. I feel like he might have done this without telling anybody just to see these guys squirm. All right, yeah, we're getting excited to put on the third race. Now, again, as I mentioned, this won't be for the victory. Horza has already taken the ARPGME title and put it under his belt for 2020. But we are going to have a friendly little race where the guys are a little less stressed, a little less pressed, and they can get kind of creative with what they're going to do. Sometimes we see some silly shenanigans and some wild strategies come out. So don't click away just yet, because this might be the most interesting tower climb of the three.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Shauny was the one that won last year, correct?
Yeah, he was. He was actually, I believe, supposed to do commentary last year.
Yeah.
And then he ended up swapping at the last minute to run, and myself and Sand Knight. Yeah, Shauny, I think, brought it home last year. Horza is bringing it home this year, as we've already seen. And now they're commencing. So nobody's doing a glitched entry, which doesn't really do you a whole lot of good, considering you get a random monster anyways. So we're just going to see what happens.
What monster are they going to start with?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited.
Viper. Oh, that's actually not the greatest, but they can work with that, definitely.
Viper's not bad. First of all, to start with a clown in the first round. Clown is one of the quintessential, the end-all, be-all gangsta familiars.
Oh, yeah. It's top 3, obviously. It's a really, really good thing. Now, Viper is going to be a little bit less strong than the maximum, but it's not going to burn MP twice as fast, so it's going to be actually really interesting. Viper is also the mascot of Orza's stream, So I'm sure he's really happy to have that as a like final match to have a Viper. He's going to be really happy about that. Also, I can see how Shauny could use that very well. It is a very good monster to have to use for AI1 strat, and Shauny is definitely like a big AI1 strat user. So it doesn't have a spell either. Oh, was that a life one we saw?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was. So life one is generally very powerful for mixed magic, not so much with and it is a life one, but it life steals 1/8 of the damage you deal. So you might only recover 1 health, but I mean, on these very, very early floor, that might be strong enough.
Yeah, that's 1 health is as we've seen, the difference between living and dying sometimes. So
oh yeah.
But one thing I will say, if I had to rank the ugliest familiars in the game, Viper, man, he's up there. He's up there.
Yeah, he's not
I think
really.
The Wee Dog and the Viper and maybe a couple others would really be contending for that top 5.
I don't know. I like those Vipers with this like giant football spauldron.
He looks like he's got football pads on. Then look at you say the name Viper, you assume like some cool snake-looking creature, but you look at him and you're like, "Ugh, what is that about?"
Yeah, it's got arms for some reasons and legs, and I mean,
and a mohawk.
And a mohawk. Well, I mean, consider when the game actually went out, mohawk was the thing. So, oh. So yeah, that's going to be a very standard 5 floors clear. They're going to actually look at everything they can find on these 5 first floor to try to build an inventory as they would. The water floor, starting floor 6, are still going to be hard enough that they won't want to explore as much if they can.
Yeah, they don't have the clown or whatever to really carry them through the floors without much difficulty.
Yeah, mixed magic is definitely the way to go early on, and they only had 1 monster out of the 3s that had a good mixed magic to start with. Which was the clown, which was obviously like one of the top best caster in the game.
The clown is sometimes the familiar you get halfway through a tower climb and you go, "Oh my god, my savior!" Like it's that good. It's one of the real MVPs. And now you saw them blessed in the first round where they were like, okay, this is interesting, and then immediately the next 2 rounds they were like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, like I said, Viper's not going to be too bad because at least you can like hope that it will not spend too much MP, but the maximum, like I like how Shauny put everything into that basket and actually
he really
survived
did
the whole run. Like it's not because it never was about the maximum not having MP, so I guess that definitely paid out. Oh,
yeah, had he not stepped on the Monster Den trap, it would have been, we could have been talking a completely different race because he was well equipped, he was higher level, he was moving faster amongst floors, and his maximum was doing a lot of work, and he was intelligently using it. So he literally got put in a situation where it became basically unwinnable regardless of the circumstance. And Horza, without a familiar, just kind of hop, skipped, and jumped his way to victory without even realizing it. And sometimes that's just how this game works. These guys are working with the exact same towers, and you're still seeing those results. So I mean, that just it really is a great example of just for how chaotic and how different this run can be, even when you're dealing with the exact same like stimuli and opportunities.
Yes. One of the things that's actually interesting about having a water monster, is really super popular, and one of the reasons for that is that when you will fight an enemy, if it is fire, then your water monster wins. If it's water, then you're neutral, so neither of the monster will get a boost from that. So the enemies that you really have to check out for is the wind ones, and wind ones are super weak to fire elemental magic. The balls you can find on the ground that makes Ko a caster for a few turns, they actually can only deal damage if they're fire elemental. Like all the damage dealing thing is fire, all the status element that afflicts enemies are wind, and all the buffs are water. So knowing that, having a water monster and a fireball in your inventory, you actually can cover every type of monster, only being neutral to the water ones, which is a very good, nice thing to have.
Yeah, exactly. And again, as Saint I mentioned earlier, like the difference of elevation can cover every single option and trivialize that. And so the way Saint I put it there is, you essentially you pick up damage dealing balls. They're always going to be that fire element. you're covering so many bases, which is not something you can often say when you're doing these tower runs. So
exactly.
it is going to relieve maybe a little bit of stress in that respect. And I know that, Sam and myself have talked about the difference of elements and stuff like that a little bit throughout this run, but it really does, especially towards the end when, every amount of damage and every amount of HP makes a difference. It really does have a significant impact on survivability and things like that.
Absolutely, 100%. This is like the deciding factor of so many things. Obviously, percentage damage is always going to be more impactful the higher the base number is. So the higher you get into the floors, then that 10% might be an extra 20 instead of an extra 2 point something, right? So extra 20 damage is huge. It's going to make a big difference. And that's where you want to see these numbers get up. The fireballs, as long as you're not super under level, is always going to one-shot every wind monster in the tower, no questions asked. So
I must have missed it. Did Horza I can't imagine his Viper died. He must have bagged it in order to get a little bit more EXP.
I didn't see that either, but I think it would have bagged him.
Yeah, he didn't seem like he was coming across too much difficulty.
In chat, we see that his Viper is dead.
Oh, wow.
He might not have... I don't know what situation made him lose the monster. I feel like he might not have... he might have sacked it. Just
I was about to say, he might have... Because he was at full HP, which led me to believe, okay, maybe he just casually put it away, but... Horza is going with Iron Man strategies for the second round in a row.
That's definitely what he's been practicing the most lately, so I feel like he's more comfortable in that anyway. But that's scarier, obviously. When you do any percent attempts, you would absolutely run without a pet because that's so much faster. But the reasoning behind it is a marathon run or a race, you only have a few attempts to clear the tower, right? Like only one every race.
You have to intelligently sacrifice speed.
Yes.
In a way that you get valuable sustainability and survivability when you're putting on marathon tournament race style of gameplay. So yeah, I mean, and it's not as easy. Horza has, I would say, fairly put himself at a disadvantage, especially now that he's getting boxed in. He doesn't have that extra body. These are the situations where when you're solo you really gotta be lean on your items and your resources. Fireballs are great options, but they have a limited amount of usage. I believe that the fireball that everybody starts out with has 5 charges always. Yes. But every time you pick up items, especially things like Acid Rain and such, they can really vary in the amount of charges that they use. I believe Acid Rain only has like, what, 1 or 2 charges?
Only always ever 1, but that's the exception. The other ones always have between 4 and 7 with equal chance for each, a 25% chance for every number. But yeah, absolutely. Those balls are absolutely huge. Finding a ball in the tower, unless it's one of the bad ones, and there's not a lot of bad ones, like most of them are really good, are going to make so much of a difference because, like we said, an item is going to be the difference between getting out of a situation or not. And you have 20 inventory space, and most of them are one-time use. So the balls are great because if they have 5 charges, it can get you out of 5 different situations and only take up 1 inventory space, so that's really nice. Yeah,
and even I would consider the recovery and repel like the least useful of all those. Yes. And you already saw Shauny put on a great display of just how you can get use out of even those. So
Shauny has already used once during a match repel ball, weak ball, which is definitely the worst ball in the game. He used it because when you cast it, the camera will follow the spell animation, and he used that to scout the room. So he was in a corridor and he cast it inside the room, and then the camera would have followed the spell inside. He saw the elevator wasn't there, so he went the other way instead of moving forward. So even the worst ball can be used if you're brilliant enough to just find a reason to use it, right? Or a way to use it.
Yeah, well, I don't think one thing we talked about, did we talk about Menevas or Menewevas or however you want to pronounce it? So these are these yellow pudding style enemies that are following Horza here. They've kind of just walked past them, but if you're new to the game or just now getting those can be some of the scariest guys in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'll let Sand Knight touch exactly on how they work, but 1 can turn into 2, can turn into death really quickly.
Oh yeah, so you can see them 3 times in the tower, so they will be like on 7 to 8, 5 to 8, and then you're gonna not see them for a while, and then they're gonna come back. So yeah, there's three instances of them being in a tower. The first time they have the ability to, when you hit them, they can split into many others. The clones, like you've seen it here on Shauny's side, the clones are much weaker, so that's not necessarily a big problem, but the damage will add up, especially early on, since you don't have that much health anyway. So those small ones chunk you lose is gonna add up real fast. When you see them the second time, they still can clone themselves, but the other skill they learn is they have the ability to, if they find an item, they can clone themselves into that item. And then you would see twice of the same item close to one another. And if you move close to it, it will untransform and attack you on the same turn, which is really, really dangerous. Then the third time you meet them, they can actually clone and transform into another monster. So you would find like a fire monster or a wind monster. You're going to say, oh, that's a wind monster, so I'm going to use a fireball, right? And then I'll deal like 7 damage. And you'll be like, why? And then you'd be like, oh, that's actually a Manuiva transformed into that wind monster. It's not water for real. So with this skill set, they are really scary.
Horza just got low downed, which is especially running solo co, something you really don't like seeing. Oh, and
Exactly.
he's getting U-boated on the other side, so he's gonna dance the U-boat.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have a choice here. You need to U-boat dance. Oh, that's bad though. He's gonna need to take a hit. He's choosing the hits he's gonna take. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Oh,
Okay.
it's gonna hurt. Okay, but he's fine now. The U-boat is behind him.
Oh,
so
but look at the
that.
Manuiva. Oh,
Oh no.
Oh
Okay,
my
they need
goodness.
to not wake up, but the chances that none of them will wake up is really low, and he gets it.
Wow,
Let's
that
go,
was-
Horza.
that was incredible. But at the same time, Shauny, 8 HP. He's got a
Yep.
U-boat versus a Viper. He's
yeah.
one thing you can throw, or that you can do that we didn't mention, is throw items for damage. It's not always a
Yep.
ton, depending on the item you throw. Oh man, and Horza, dude, these U-boats are really out to play today, guys. They're
Gee.
all over the place.
He had 2 runs where U-boats was not even a factor, and now they have decided, okay, no, we need to play a part in this game. Here we come. But luckily, Horza is out of U-boat territory, so floor 10 is the end of U-boats. And he's going to be real happy about that.
And Shauny as well, just elevated up, so they can both take a breath. Oh.
Did Horza get a U-boat tag?
While you were
Oh.
explaining the Manuivas, I forgot to mention that Horza did get a U-boat hatched out of an egg.
Oh yeah, okay, U-boats. So you can use an ability that they can use. They will scout the map for you. It costs a lot of MP, but then they're gonna probably abuse how item works. When you feed any type of herbs, fruit, or seed to your pet, they will recover like 3 MP. And the ability to scout costs like 8 or 9. But if you have 3 MP and you use an ability that costs 8, you can still use it and you'll only be at 0. So keeping a few items that can recover just a little bit amount of MP will recover your U-boat from being to 0 up to 3. Use the ability again and then bag it. And every floor you can have a full map shown to you without having to really do anything. That's gonna be great.
And really, like, the psychological element of knowing exactly where you need to go on every map.
Oh yeah.
It can't be understated. Like, it's not. I know that a lot of times you look at it and you're like, well, big deal. I mean, he didn't. You know, it didn't take him to the elevator or whatever. But knowing a clear path, seeing the enemies ahead of you, kind of being able to look at the map and identify that alternate routes and stuff that you can go. It really does make a significant impact. And especially like if you're on floor 39 going to 40, like it's a huge difference.
So okay, the Viper is out and dead on Shauny's side as well. I don't know if he got the egg. Oh yeah, you need to get that egg, Horza. Oh, that's gonna be scary.
So Shauny, you saw him fail to pick up that troll about 3 times, so that's frustrating. Horza is now having to face tank a volcano, which is never recommended.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and he manages. He gets out. He gets out.
Okay,
Shauny
at
is
least.
now opting to hatch an egg, though. I don't know if it is the same U-boat egg.
I feel it is. I don't think he's got
I don't
the
think
egg.
they got
or-
yeah, I don't think they got a second one yet, right? At Horza, floor 12, there's
Yeah.
an egg, but
Yeah, exactly, on floor 12. Or 11 was it? Anyway, one of the two, but it probably 12. Horza is taking a small lead, but I mean, Shawnee will have the same U-boat. I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, he's out as well. Wow, floor 15.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Horza is actually now he's kind of identifying just how weak he is and how low opportunity it is to have no, real sizable familiar that he can rely on. So now he's starting to beeline it up floors. Now the issue that you're going to see with that is that like you don't survive anything, so you have one opportunity, and it is to escape.
Yes.
And as you get higher and higher, that becomes more and more common, anyways. But especially in these middle floors, like these are usually the floors where you kind of want to intelligently decide what to fight to get EXP, what's not worth your time, how much exploration you're willing to do. But Horza, those opportunities no longer exist for him. And a repel ball's it's not terrible.
Well, it's not great either.
It's pretty bad, but I mean,
the problem is that he didn't have any inventory space, and that's one of the things you need to be always like remembering how many inventory space you have left. The reason is picking up an item on the floor and putting it in your hand costs 0 turns, but putting it into your inventory then costs a turn. Well, no, it doesn't cost a turn, but I mean, if you don't have the inventory space, you cannot do that, and you need to put it back down, and that does cost a turn.
So we're seeing it here, guys. The floor 16.
Oh yeah, a barong, so he can feed it any items, and he will get a new item. I spoke about that during the first one, but it's been a while, so it doesn't check for rarity at all. Oh, that's a misclick.
He put that down on accident. Autumna, though, is a respectable gain.
Oh, we have a fusion on Shauny's side. He's actually awakening the D-Rock spell. That might be a thing. So the fusion, the mixed magic from D-Rock is really, really potent. What it does is it's the equivalent of Acid Rain. It clears the whole room you're in. It deals a crap ton of damage. But it does cost a lot of MP, so that's kind of scary as well. Since you want to use the U-boat to scout, I don't feel you're going to use the D-Rock much, but you can also cast the spell manually and just get an Ice Rock in your face and use that to tank, right?
Yeah, they're both... I mean, the U-boat already, natively is a pretty MP costly ordeal.
Yes.
So having that D-Rock, while it is a great option, just if you have the opportunity, it might afford you the one more escape that you need. But yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how that comes into play. Now, the U-boat is it's not terrible familiar just to have soak either. I mean, it's got like, 30 HP or something.
Yeah, it's okay-ish. I mean, it's got a decent attack enough, but everything else is not going to scale quickly enough. Early on is going to be good. So
Horza's been carrying around this barong for like the past 20 minutes.
Yes.
It becomes such a nice... I mean, let me make it clear that they're not common enemies. I mean, it's very often you don't see them at all.
Yes.
So he got I think he got a Tumna fruit at least out of it, which is a really good fruit.
Oh yeah.
And
the other egg was a clown, and Shauny is dead.
Oh, so that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Horza with the sweep.
Jeez.
The clown.
I'm receiving messages where Shauny's telling me my seat sucks.
Yep. Yep.
And it's true. It was not a very nice seed.
My goodness, that was pretty incredible. Poor Shauny, man. He's gonna.
Oh yeah.
He is and what's crazy is that he was, floor 36, a single, what was it, Ice Rock that he was using to try to escape the room that he was in. A single good luck, a little bit better luck in that scenario, he might have gone to 40. He was definitely at 36 first. The next one, had he not landed in the monster den, he was higher level and higher floor already. So, and in this one, a clown out of an egg. Like, those are all elements of, like, what are you going to do? It sucks that they all happen to the same person.
Yes.
But, those are those things that you just encounter and you kind of put your hands up because, like, there's not much any player can do in those scenarios. It is pretty much what the game gives you.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. I mean, everything he had control over, he played well. It's just that this is a very random game, and sometimes there's going to be situations there's just not much you can do, really. And I feel like that's all the situation we had today. Sometimes you do a misplay or make a bad decision, but I don't feel that's any of that's actually got into Shauny's way. It's pretty much RNG that got him every time. But he played super well. So did Orza, obviously, winning the 3 matches.
Yeah, I mean, he brought out what a reflect, recovery, self heal, 2 immunities. I mean, these are 300 IQ plays he's pulling out just to land in a monster den. So I mean, like, you got to give it up to these runners. Both of them did an incredible job. Horza, through sheer will, patience, and just playing safe and acting safely, put him in an advantageous position. Whereas Shauny, through no fault of his own, just it just happens that way. And keep in mind, I can't state this enough, these are the exact same towers. These guys are dealing with the exact same variables. It just happens to be like the paths they take, the items and resources they gain, and all those kinds of things that play a part in what ends up differentiating the 2 routes. So it's unfortunate that Shauny was at the bad end of all those dice rolls, but it was definitely it was great for viewers. I enjoyed it. So thank you, Shauny, for your sacrifice.
I think we're gonna go into the interview if Mash is okay with it. I'm pretty sure that's what the next step was. Or maybe he's just not around. I can try to see if I can bring the runners into the fold.
Yeah, that'll because they are server deafened.
I might not be able to. Yeah.
But yeah, while they're getting that squared away, I'll give you guys one last shout out to if you're interested in this game at all, if you played it as a kid, if you're interested in picking it back up, or even if you just want to know some strategies to when you do play it casually, so have some things to try. The Azure Dreams Discord, which has been posted in the chat a couple of different times, you're not going to find a better resource and a better collection of people who know the game. You're not going to find a better opportunity to learn how to speedrun if that's something you are interested in. Or even if you just want to stay up to date to watch more of events like this, tournaments and stuff. There's a lot of community events and tournaments that they very frequently put together. So yeah, check it out. And
we are actually working on the next tournament as we speak. We are deciding what are going to be the fine print details on the thing. But yeah, we have already made 3 tournaments. So if you want to join our Discord, it would be super fun to see more people actually join these events. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah. And because one thing if you're intimidated or overwhelmed because you're not familiar with the game, you're new, let me tell you, I had no idea how to play the game ever. And Sand Knight volunteered me for a tournament a long time ago, and I booted up the game and I played. And because it can be so random and so strange, and you can have things go so many different ways, you still have a fighting chance. And on top of that, it's a great opportunity to get better. This is a game where experience is king, so you'll see yourself get so much better, so much faster. But yeah, don't let being new or being inexperienced or whatever deter you from considering joining, even if it's just for fun. There's been a whole lot of different styles of events that they've done, and I'm not good, but I've learned a ton, enough to be able to do this here with Sand Knight today. So it is, please don't be intimidated by that aspect.
Yeah, the point you're bringing up is really important. We might be laughing a lot about how we die, and we're trying to just make it fun, even though sometimes it's a little bit frustrating. But we might be laughing a lot, but we're really serious into if somebody wants to learn something, we will absolutely tell them everything we know, which is starting to be quite a lot, but we are still discovering new things every week. So feel free, if you wanna learn or just see more about the game, join the Discord. We will get you where you need to be. And joining a tournament while being very new, I think it was kind of fun, right?
Oh man, yeah, I had a blast. If you don't remember, as soon as I was eliminated from the tournament, I booted up the stream and played for 8 hours on my own stream. There is something to be said if if you've watched or played any kind of randomizers or bingos or all the different ROM hacks, whatever. There's something addicting about okay, I think next time I can do better. I think if I had just this one thing, it would have been different. And that constant that constant feeling of, next time. You don't even realize, how many times you're resetting and grinding floors just because you're constantly learning and improving trying to pick up enemies that can't be picked up, getting punched. Like, it's just, there's so many things that, like, I died and I was like, huh, how about that? Never made the mistake again and had a blast doing it. So, yeah, absolutely.
The game is quickly rewarding. Like, you'll get the feel, like, you'll know you did better because you're going to get on an higher floor every time, right? And it's just that much fun to see yourselves. Like, yeah, the game is super hard, but it's what makes it so rewarding when you actually get to that floor 15 for the first time, and then 16, and then 17, and at some point maybe 40. Yeah,
I believe I was brand new, and I had one race where I got to floor 3, and they were like, "All right, you win." And I was like, "What in the world could have taken place?" It took me 10 minutes to get to floor 3, and I won.
Oh, I think we have Shauny.
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Shauny, how's it going?
Do you really want to know?
I am also here.
Hey, Horza, congratulations on the victory here.
Oh man, that is
the first
thing. Screw you.
The first thing Shauny asked me was, "Is the stream PG-13?"
Yeah, that was a. I mean, let me run through a couple of things that took place here for the viewers as well as the runners who might not have known. Shauny pulled out a double immunity tile, a monster den, a reflect recovery play, and still just was the bad end of bad luck repeatedly. It was, bro, I'm not gonna lie, it was hilarious to watch. So thank you so much.
To play it was hilarious. To find the monster den of 5 krakens, like 4 garudas, and like 3 trolls all sleeping around me. I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna die.
And what's crazy is me and Sand Knight were both like, oh, you know what? Maybe, oh my god, maybe he gets out of this. And then that one Garuda at the end was like, nah.
Yeah, no, it was either I would use up. Hindsight's 2020. I should have used another ice rock ball, or sorry, I should have used medicinal herb, banked on a hit, replenished the ice rock, and then gone with it. But having a maximum as a pet sucks.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Like, so much MP.
Oh yeah,
I named mine No. I named mine No and just sent it home immediately.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, he's bagging it right away, and Shauny's over here like feeding it fruit, feeding it. And I was like, man, he's really going for it.
Yeah, but it did a lot of work actually. Your maximum, even though it was burning Trampy like a madman, it was actually doing some real good work. Your AI1 strat used on a maximum it paid dividends real quick because it's such a strong monster, right?
It isn't like once it hits like level 20, it gets good enough stats. But like level 10, it's like, wow, you have 9 attack power. It's like, cool. You could do like 6 damage maybe against a bloom. You'll die.
Yeah.
Like all the fire spells got dedicated to like, hey, are you water elemental? I gotta get rid of you.
Yep, and it's gonna cost 2 charge of the ball. Yeah.
Well, there goes my run.
Oh yeah. Always a congratulations on your end. It was a lot more like a conservation of resources, taking things a little bit slower, but definitely it did pay off in the end with a 40 clear on the first run. By the way,
that 40 clear, there was like probably one of the most value holy bells I've ever seen. Right there at the end, I was blown away. It was sick. So congratulations, on the win as well as the 40 climb. That was dope.
That first match made me so salty.
I don't know what to say about that floor 38 in that first seed was one of the worst floors of my life. Having to kite that dragon all the way out of that room to go back in, like, okay, I'm in front of the elevator, I'm safe. A golem steps in the way.
Yeah, he was literally standing right next to it. It was almost like you pulled out this holy bell and you were like, ha! And then all of a sudden, you came back to reality super, super fast when there was a golem standing between you and finishing. So both of you guys played incredibly well, super intelligently. Like,
I am out of my normal. I do not do randomizers. I just play the game. Fixed seed, that's fine. Having a clown or I can't remember what the third one was. What was it? A Viper. Oh god, that Viper sucked.
Yeah. Both the Maximum and the Viper are both terrible. They don't do anything.
Yeah, it was funny. You should have heard Sand Knight's reaction when you guys walked into the first floor of the very first run, and it was a clown, and he was like, "Oh, and I was over here like, all right, this is about to be sick.
Yeah, no, well, we were under the impression that this would be basically vanilla, but the same tower.
Yeah.
And for some reason, randomizer is acting up, and we cannot get the same tournament settings that we normally have. All we have are these random monster starting ones. So
Hey,
I
man,
shall propose it later to a proper best of 3 when we get things started out. But
I would like to say on behalf of the viewership that it was at least so entertaining. That the floor one might have been one of the most entertaining parts of the whole run, because I was like, man, they're gonna get a wee dog or something. I can't wait.
if it was a wee dog, at least you could use the meat strats and stuff like that, and like distraction and whatever. A Viper's useless, and it's the most terrifying thing because every time you hit with it, you hear that attack down noise and you think it's hitting you.
Oh yeah.
I hate it.
So we will get that sorted out, but if you join our Discord, then you will have the chance to see probably some kind of a revenge match. Like you said, it was not supposed to be random monster, and it was. And by the way, we have a very cool community. Like I spoke to somebody during this run right now, and it's already fixed. So the randomizer just been fixed a few seconds ago. So I mean, our community is just the greatest. Be a part of it. Just join in. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is still in chat if you want to choose to join the link. But yeah, so it was kind of a random thing, but it was actually a lot of fun. Like Palmer said, to watch it at least. Sorry if you guys had to go through this, but I mean, we had a lot.
Don't worry.
Yeah, when I saw this clown, I'm like looking at the chat, being like, "Say psych, Sand Knight. Say psych, Sand Knight. Sand Knight."
Yeah, no, I was honestly expecting it'd be like, okay, we're gonna go through with this, and we're gonna have this like 2 floors in, and be like, hey, here's the real seedlings or something. Can you restart? And we got no feedback. I'm like, okay, I'm on floor 20. When's this going to be a joke? Like, what
I
is it?
thought one of you was going to be so agitated you just glitch entry to completely not deal with getting some random crap to begin with. But I mean, at that point, you roll the dice, you might get something decent.
Well, the thing is, we skipped the intro. There's no time save doing the glitch entry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I set my maximum home. I was just like, nope, I'm just you just get out of here.
Yeah, no, I am more than pleased with those matches. I've never done a run before with a non-Queenie starter, so that was brand new to me.
Yeah,
I'm used to playing the randomizer in the sense of using awaken spells. So, like, every monster usually has something it can do.
Not Vipers.
Not Vipers or Maximums.
Nope. Yeah, next time if we do something akin to that, awaken spell would be a thing. But obviously, that was not what we were supposed to do today at all. So that was a surprise for me as well. Even though I first thought that I should roll with it and say that that was I wanted to do from the beginning. Obviously, that was not a joke on either of you. That was just a little bug we had with the randomizer itself. But yeah, all sorted out now, and it made some good television, I guess. So
it really did, though. Oh man, that was frustrating. I was signed up for using Queenie, and the last thing I heard before we got muted for the race was they're gonna want to fight a Scarlet Wand. So I'm like, okay, cool, things are normal. And then all of a sudden we get a clown to start with. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, Shauny walked in, got a clown to start, and a cursed wooden wand, and was like, well,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
At that point, you were like, well, nothing makes sense. This whole
you had no actually drop for the mixture magic, so I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. You did keep the wooden one the whole way around, and actually, in the end, it didn't make any changes.
Yeah,
like a better sword could have helped once you got in melee, but like as long as you were using Thunderwave, the weapon you have matters not at all.
Yeah, that was.
The only thing that annoyed me was I was going to survive the last room. I released the clown. I was going to do the invincibility glitch, and the bloody glacier shoots me and shoves me to the maximum. I'm like, come on!
Oh yeah. That we were cracking up when you were like, oh, the immunity glitch. Oh.
Yeah, I had the Plumpa save for that. I actually purposely kept the Plumpa so I could release it and then start doing mixture magic, and then he pushes me. I'm like, oh no.
That was hilarious. I will.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't work very well when you get to glaciers, because.
Well, I know that. I learned that today.
Today I learned.
Yeah, today I learned that. It's great.
What did you guys learn today?
Seriously, both of you guys put on an incredible display of gameplay and intelligence and stuff. So I mean, thank you from commentary side and the viewership side and everything. You guys really did an amazing job. Sam Knight, thank you for joining me with commentary as well. It was a good time.
Oh my man, thank
appreciate
you.
you
I mean, such appreciated that you've been part of this with me as well this year. This is going to become a thing, I think, if we can get picked up next year.
We have the right seats next time.
We're going to make sure it's good.
As long as people still want to keep seeing awesome stuff like this, then I'm more than happy to make it happen. So that's the team that we have. But yeah, last year was exciting. This year, just as exciting.
A little bit more on an odd part of the exciting, but yes.
Yeah, exciting, but different.
We have programmer in chat there.
Yes,
taking all the blame.
Monstrosity you watched. He's actually the one who made the website, and if you go to it, you'll see how many features there really are that somehow didn't get turned on during these races as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if we had like full rando mode going. Oh God.
Yeah. All right.
Like the monsters level up every 10 seconds and like.
Yeah, that's terrible. That one's terrifying. Or like full towers, you would need to clear 99 floors instead of 40.
Yep. Survival mode. Take 20 items in with you, and that's all you get.
Yep. There's no more items that spawn in the tower. That'd be good though, but that'd be
so much worse thinking of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're good to go.
Yeah, yep. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for bringing this on again as another great addition to the ARPGME.
Oh, thank you, Mash. Honestly, it's such a blast to work. To just have the chance to do that with you guys is always a blast. Like, we really appreciate you giving us a chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always been nice to be able to network with different communities. Even if I'm not directly like involved with the communities, it's always nice to network with them and try to get some interesting stuff shown out there that maybe some people just might be interested in checking out themselves that they don't have the opportunity to. And meeting new people is always a good thing. You never know what you're going to like to see.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm going to say also a big shout out, a big thank you to chat. Yeah, honestly, you guys have been a blast to showcase to, and it's always fun to see people actually commentating on what we do. I really like that. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so congratulations, everybody, and thank you again for the wonderful commentary, Sam Knight and Professor Palmer. Palmer will be back later on tonight for a run of Orange Blood, so keep your eyes peeled for that. So, Palmer.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go see. Let's go watch your run later on, Palmer.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Hopefully it. Hopefully it goes all right.
Yeah. So.
Hopefully better than my luck.
so in around like 10:30 p.m. Eastern. If you guys are in the East Coast, if not, just go check out the schedule at hararo.org/ARPGME/2020 schedule. Moobot there will post a command if you type in ! schedule, or it'll just auto post it on demand throughout the marathon. But anyways, thanks everybody for joining us for this awesome Azure Dreams race to the top. Or you guys have a specific name for the way you guys deal your tournaments.
Yeah, it's a rock me to the top style, but this is definitely not what the hell we just did.
Usually we have the same pet Kunai every time.
Yeah, and normally I actually know what I'm doing and not having it.
Hey, listen, this is the future, okay?
Okay.
It's a very grim future.
But yeah, if you guys want to go check out their community, please go do so. They do races all the time over there. I definitely lurk a lot down there. So go check them out. Get involved. I mean, I've been doing stuff with other communities as well. Randomizers are really cool. De-randomizers, it's a new concept to me. I don't know about. I never heard of people de-randomizing a game, but
we had to be able to make it an even playground. Like even if everything was horribly random and really hard to cope with, we still play the same tower, and that's a feat on its own.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, folks. Have a good one. Enjoy your rest of your morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you are. We'll be going to intermission and getting set up for the Near Automata Fishing % race, 3v3 teams. That's going to be interesting. So we'll be back as soon as we can with that. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.